Chapter 969, Humiliation. However, if that were the case, Xiao Yunduan's dreams of becoming an official would be shattered forever. He had been a promising Primus just the day before, and in a single moment, he had lost it all, leaving Qiao Xian feeling deeply displeased. The Qiao family scolded Qiao Xian and Xiao Yunduan, their brows furrowed in worry. What were they going to do now? How would they explain this to the Tian family? They had made a promise to the Tian family through their housekeeper, but now, it was a humiliating situation to be in. But that was the least of their worries. Offending the Tian family meant they would never have a chance to excel in the intermediate level. If the Tian family was displeased, they would undoubtedly seek revenge. Those two wretches are so stubborn and unyielding. I don't understand how third brother and third sister-in-law raised her. How can Xian be so disrespectful? It's humiliating. What's the point of saying this now? The entire family lacked the courage to confront Xiao Yunduan and Qiao Xian directly, so they had no choice but to face the scolding from the Tian family. As the housekeeper of the Tian family listened to old Master Qiao's feeble response, he fell silent for a moment. He couldn't believe it. After all, in such a situation, anyone would know what to do. Did they truly not care about their promising future and insist on keeping a concubine's daughter as the wife? Furthermore, the Tian family was not an unreasonable family. They simply wanted the concubine's daughter to relinquish the position of the main wife, allowing her to benefit in the future. He wasn't even willing to do that. Did you really tell them everything? Everything. Butler Tian repeated, seeking confirmation. The two old masters of the Qiao family felt even more humiliated. They had no choice but to nod, admitting their incompetence. Butler Tian didn't seem pleased with their response. He snorted dismissively. Anyway, you don't have to concern yourselves with this any longer. The two old masters of the Qiao family nodded and left, not daring to ask for any further favors. As long as the Tian family didn't hold a grudge against them or blame them for their actions, they would be grateful. Those two wretches deserve to be taught a lesson. It seems they want to do things the hard way. When the Tian family deals with them, they'll realize what they're truly capable of. They don't even know how lucky they are to be in the intermediate level. They were born with bad luck. Absolutely true. The two old masters of the Qiao family were both frustrated and annoyed. They wondered why such a great opportunity hadn't fallen on their own sons but instead on the foolish head of Xiao Yunduan. It was such a waste. Butler Tian reported the situation to Officer Tian and his wife, who were greatly displeased. Officer Tian had been hesitant and reluctant to take action, but Xiao Yunduan's rejection had infuriated him. Did they truly believe they could be arrogant just because they had become Primus? How dare they turn down the Tian family? Madame Tian grew even more furious. This is too much. Old master, we must teach them a lesson. Her daughter was precious, and yet she had been humiliated time and time again. It was an act of bullying that couldn't be tolerated. Officer Tian sneered, turning to the housekeeper. You can go to Xiao Yunduan personally. No, go to the Qiao family. You know what to tell him, don't you? Butler Tian nodded firmly. I know exactly what to say. Good, then go ahead. Very well, old master. Butler Tian discreetly arrived at Xiao Yunduan and Qiao Xian's home in an inconspicuous wagon. Hearing the abrupt and forceful knock on the door, the couple immediately sensed that something was amiss. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know to report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 970, No regret. And he could tell that the visitor was from the Tian family based on his attire and haughty demeanor. Butler Tian paid no attention to their presence. In his view, the Qiao family failed to secure the deal because they failed to present a thorough analysis of its advantages and disadvantages. He doubted their inability to exert control over the situation. Butler Tian had no time for idle talk. With cold and unwavering pride, he conveyed all the necessary information. In conclusion, he spoke icily, "Surely, you understand this, don't you? If not, you can forget about becoming the Primus. I can provide you with a more explicit explanation. Mr. Primus, the path to success lies before you. With a single nod, you can ascend to the top and indulge in a life of luxury. Your family and clan will rise alongside you, evoking jealousy in all. It's a privilege that others can only dream of. Mr. Primus, are you still hesitant? You must carefully contemplate this. It marks a significant divergence." Butler Tian refrained from issuing any direct threats, yet each word carried an ominous undertone. Xiao Yunduan felt an unexpected tranquility within his heart. He possessed his own ambitions and objectives, and he refused to accept such an offer. But he would never have regrets. He could not engage in such immoral, shameless, and dishonorable acts, nor had he ever contemplated leveraging nepotism for personal gain within the government. Even as a first-class official, he wouldn't be able to live a peaceful life in that manner. In this world, there were those who solely pursued profit, and there were those who upheld righteousness and integrity. "I will ponder upon it," Xiao Yunduan replied slowly after a moment of silence. Qiao Xian cast a glance at him but remained silent. Butler Tian wore an expression of smug satisfaction. "There's no need for you to contemplate, is there? Mr. Primus, I expect a prompt response. Our old master and madam await my answer." Xiao Yunduan replied, "I need time to think." Steward Tian stumbled over his words, his irritation evident. He shot a displeased look at Xiao Yunduan and said, "Very well, I shall return tomorrow, and I hope Mr. Primus will have a satisfactory answer by then." But Butler Tian remained indifferent to Qiao Xian's demeanor and her willingness to comply. In his view, Qiao Xian had no authority to voice her opinion. She lacked the qualifications to accept such an offer. Xiao Yunduan remained silent. Butler Tian sneered and departed. Qiao Xian turned towards Xiao Yunduan, her expression filled with inquiry. "You, listen to me first." Xiao Yunduan placed his hands on Qiao Xian's shoulders and forced a gentle smile. "Let's leave the capital." Qiao Xian's eyes widened. "I want us to attend the Qiongling banquet the day after tomorrow. If that doesn't work out, we can leave the capital. I refuse to yield, even if I may have regrets." Qiao Xian experienced a surge of complex emotions. It felt as if her internal organs were entangled in a jumble. It was the worst-case scenario they had discussed. However, as the moment drew near, Qiao Xian discovered her heart racing in disarray, and her legs growing weak. Tears welled up in her eyes. "You fool," Xiao Yunduan chuckled, gently wiping away the tears at the corner of her eyes. He lowered his head and planted a tender kiss on her forehead. With a resolute tone, he said, "Tomorrow, I will have Songshur discreetly search for a hostel. The day after tomorrow, you will stay at the hostel. It's best if you don't remain here any longer." No one could predict the actions the Tian family might take when they exerted such pressure on them. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know to report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 971, Qiao Xian shook her head and firmly declined. "No, there's no need. I will wait for you here. The Tian family won't act recklessly at this moment, with the entire situation blown up and everyone watching. You're not an ordinary person. You hold the position of Primus, and the Tian family won't confront you openly. We shouldn't worry too much. I will wait here for you, and then we'll leave the capital together. You're just being overly concerned. I can handle it." Moreover, Xiao Yunduan would be attending the banquet, and she had no fear of anyone causing trouble. If the Tian family dared to make a move, she wouldn't mind teaching them a lesson. Unable to persuade Qiao Xian, Xiao Yunduan tried to convince himself that her reasoning was sound. He was simply overly worried. The next morning, butler Tian returned. He sought Xiao Yunduan for an answer. However, he was unsuccessful as Xiao Yunduan had taken Qiao Xian out for a walk. Only Li Qiao and Li Xiao remained at home. Butler Tian sneered. The Primus is in such a carefree mood, going for a stroll. It seems he has already made his choice and is completely unconcerned. He must be consoling Miss Qiao for her position as the official wife. That must be the case. Butler Tian wasn't particularly pleased. He felt that Xiao Yunduan was excessively indulgent towards Qiao Xian, and if he happened to encounter someone who knew him, they might speak ill of Miss Qiao. He lacked discernment. Butler Tian needed to report this to the old master and madam so they could provide guidance and keep him company, or else it would bring disgrace upon the Tian family. As for Miss Qiao, it seemed that Mr. Primus held affection for her, so they couldn't keep her any longer. When she was sent back to the Qiao family, they could handle her as they pleased. When the Primus and elder Miss were married, they would surely grow fond of each other, and they would no longer remember Miss Qiao. Butler Tian began to contemplate the future. Meanwhile, Xiao Yunduan and Qiao Xian embarked on a boat trip, enjoyed a lakeside lunch, and went fishing. Luckily, they managed to catch a few fish. For dinner, they found a small restaurant and requested the owner to cook the fish. Alongside 2 home-cooked dishes, they shared a meal together. Only when the sky darkened did they return home, contented. The capital was vast, and regardless of the Tian family's influence, it was impossible to locate 2 individuals amidst the sea of people. Upon their arrival home, butler Tian, who had been waiting for quite some time, grew increasingly irritated, his face darkening. "Mr. Primus, you seem to be in quite a good mood. Where have you been? What took you so long?" he exclaimed. Xiao Yunduan cast a composed glance at him and smiled. "Butler Tian, you certainly carry an air of authority." However, his tone held a hint of reproach. Butler Tian stiffened, realizing that Mr. Primus would soon become his son-in-law. He inwardly sighed, acknowledging his impatience. "I was too hasty. Mr. Primus, I seek an answer from you." He glanced disdainfully at Qiao Xian. Xiao Yunduan grasped Qiao Xian's hands and spoke slowly, "I am merely a humble boy from the countryside. I am unworthy of elder Miss Tian. If you find any errors, ads pop-up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know to report so we can fix it as soon as possible." Chapter 972, Not Worthy, I Apologize. Butler Tian appeared to have trouble comprehending the words, as he failed to react promptly. "What did you say? Say it again." Xiao Yunduan remained silent, gazing calmly at Butler Tian while tightly holding Qiao Xian's hands. Butler Tian's eyes fixated on their intertwined hands, his sneer growing fiercer as his anger intensified. He felt that the Tian family had been humiliated. "So, that's your decision. Mr. Primus, have you truly considered it thoroughly?" "I am unworthy." Butler Tian found the situation to be utterly laughable. Yes, he had never believed Xiao Yunduan was suitable, but it was not his place to make such a decision. "Mr. Primus, you may not be foolish, but you have acted foolishly. Unfortunate couples often have regrets. Mr. Primus, do you not think that if you face a miserable life in the future, you will regret your choice today? By then, it will be too late for you to repent." Xiao Yunduan's expression remained unchanged. He smiled faintly. "Thank you for the reminder, Butler Tian, but I am not fortunate enough to lead a life like that." He was unaware of what he had traded in for his conscience and social status. At the very least, he couldn't find solace in it. Moreover, he had no intention of abandoning his wife. Good, very good. In that case, Mr. Primus, just wait and see. I hope you can sleep well tonight. Butler Tian sneered and departed without looking back. Xiao Yunduan narrowed his eyes and firmly held Qiao Xian's hands. Don't worry, after tomorrow, we will lay everything bare and depart from the capital. Qiao Xian smiled and nodded in agreement. When Butler Tian returned to the mansion, Tian Shanshan was present at her parents' residence, adamantly refusing to leave. Dad, Mom, this is my marriage. I want to be part of the discussion too, she insisted. Officer Tian and Madame Tian acknowledged her intelligence and independent thinking, so they relented and included her in the conversation. Madame Tian's mood was jubilant as she asked, so, did Xiao Yunduan agree? Tian Shanshan's heart skipped a beat. She lacked the same confidence as her mother. If Xiao Yunduan had agreed, he wouldn't have gone out earlier in the day. She doubted the outcome would be favorable. Her suspicions were soon confirmed. Upon hearing Butler Tian's account, Officer Tian and his wife turned pale. How dare he humiliate the Tian family like this? Unworthy. He knows he is unworthy. What are we waiting for? Officer Tian fumed. He has brought shame upon the Tian family. Old master, do not allow him to remain in the capital. Send him to the most remote and destitute county infested with bandits. Let him serve as a poverty-stricken county magistrate for the remainder of his life. Only then will he comprehend that the Tian family is not to be trifled with, Madame Tian suggested vehemently. Officer Tian remained silent, a glint of murderous intent flickering in his eyes. But now was not the opportune moment. Aware of the consequences, Xiao Yunduan knew that as the Primus, if anything were to happen to him on the first day of the banquet, it would infuriate the emperor. However, he also realized that he would become a laughingstock at the upcoming event. Tian Shanshan, consumed by a profound sense of humiliation, rose from her seat and bowed to her parents. Then, without a word, she turned and left. She clenched her fists, her sharp nails digging into her palms. The pain, however, failed to distract her from her seething anger. She had lost. As the direct descendant of the Tian family, the niece of concubine Mei, and the most esteemed lineal daughter in the capital, she had been defeated by a lowly concubine's daughter. If you find any errors, ads pop-up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know and report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 973, Reasonable Tian Shanshan regretted that she did not make the plan earlier. If she had started to work on it when they ran into each other in the pear garden, she could have guaranteed that it would not have turned out like this. Time was running out, and there was little she could do right now to make it happen. She should have known that this handsome man would become the Primus, and she should not have hesitated. Tian Shanshan did not blame Xiao Yunduan. Instead, she liked her even more. She even believed that Xiao Yunduan was the man she was seeking to get. On the contrary, she hated Qiao Xian, whom she had never met before. She was just unreasonable. Tian Shanshan returned to her room and soon changed into a new set of clothes. She was going out. Fuss face changed. Miss, come with me. Tian Shanshan had always had her own ideas. She threw a look at Fu, who was so frightened that he did not dare to say anything to stop her. Xiao Yunduan and Qiao Xian had not expected that Tian Shanshan would come to their door personally so late at night. The two of them were talking about leaving the capital when they heard that someone came to visit them. They did not expect that it was Tian Shanshan and her maid. Qiao Xian already knew who Tian Shanshan was when she was standing right in front of her. And she could tell that she hated him. Qiao Xian found it strange, she was the one who was thinking about her husband, and before she even started to do anything to her, she started to hate her. Xiao Yunduan was startled. He could tell who this man was. He could not help but feel disgusted. I am sorry for being presumptuous, but I don't think I will feel at ease if I don't show up like this. Tian Shanshan looked directly at Xiao Yunduan. I need to speak with you alone. Please. Xiao Yunduan did not go into the room. He nodded at Qiao Xian and walked a few steps away, intending to have a private talk with Tian Shanshan in the yard. Tian Shanshan felt suffocated. She knew that they did not welcome her, and that was the first time she had been unwelcomed since she was born. Fu snorted. You don't know how to be polite. Don't you know how to invite my miss into the room for a chat? Is that how you treat guests? Qiao Xian was thinking, you two girls are here at someone else's home in the middle of the night and you are talking with the host alone. You are definitely not the polite one. Xiao Yunduan ignored what Fu said, as did Qiao Xian. She was not going to avoid that. She was just standing right there. Fu felt a bit embarrassed. She threw a glare at Qiao Xian. Qiao Xian. She was throwing the look back at Xiao Yunduan. Tian Shanshan was proud and arrogant. She had used up almost all of her courage to come to the door. She was not going to ask Xiao Yunduan to let her in. You remember me? Xiao Yunduan nodded. Yes, I recognize you. For some reason, Tian Shanshan's heart skipped a beat and she felt tears welling up in her eyes. She turned to Xiao Yunduan with a wronged look. What is wrong with me? Why, under the moonlight, the girl was standing right in front of him, looking so beautiful and pitiful. But Xiao Yunduan did not feel any pity towards her. What right did she have to ask this question? She knew what the Tian family had done. No matter how pitiful they looked, they could not change the nature of bullying people. Lady Tian, I am already married. Tian Shanshan sneered and said aggressively, what if you are not married? Are you willing to marry me? If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know to report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 974. Unexpected. Tian Shanshan couldn't hide her disappointment as Xiao Yunduan gave his clear and resolute answer. She had hoped for a different response, but his words struck her like a thorn, piercing her heart deeply. Qiao Xian observed Tian Shanshan's intense focus and nervousness, sensing that she was anxiously awaiting Xiao Yunduan's decision. The situation felt tense, with Tian Shanshan's glaring gaze fixed on Xiao Yunduan. Xiao Yunduan, known for his cunning nature, understood the weight behind Tian Shanshan's question. The answer he gave would leave a lasting impact, impossible to shake off easily. However, Xiao Yunduan didn't hesitate to respond. His voice held conviction as he firmly stated, no. Tian Shanshan couldn't contain her frustration any longer and raised her voice. Why? Xiao Yunduan remained composed, his determination unwavering. That is not possible, Elder Miss Tian. Your question holds no meaning. I, Xiao Yunduan, will only marry Qiao Xian. Curiosity drove Tian Shanshan to probe further. What about in the next life? Xiao Yunduan's response reflected his belief. I won't have control over the next life. But if I could, I hope our destined connection would continue in this lifetime. Tian Shanshan found herself at a loss for words, overwhelmed with sadness and a sense of loss. It was the first time she experienced the disappointment of not getting what she desired. Tian Shanshan couldn't shake off the bitter taste that lingered in her heart. She never imagined that she would experience such emotions one day. It was clear to her now that this man, Xiao Yunduan, had left an indelible mark on her life. Pursing her lips with a mix of bitterness and resignation, Tian Shanshan cast a deep, meaningful look at Xiao Yunduan before turning away and leaving without looking back. She halted briefly as she passed by Qiao Xian, uttering words that hinted at a veiled threat, and then continued on her way. Qiao Xian maintained a calm demeanor as she watched Tian Shanshan's departure. The encounter left her contemplating the implications of that final statement. It carried an air of intimidation that sent a shiver down her spine. Sighing softly, Qiao Xian smiled at Xiao Yunduan. "We won't have any unwanted guests tonight, will we?" Xiao Yunduan smiled in return and approached Qiao Xian, gently taking her hands into his. "Whether there are others present or not, nothing will change." Qiao Xian chuckled, reassured by his words. "As long as you say that, I won't be bothered, regardless of the circumstances." Xiao Yunduan let out a hearty laugh. "I can't agree more. It's getting late, we should rest." "All right." That night passed without any further disturbances. Both Xiao Yunduan and Qiao Xian found solace in each other's presence, their minds finally at ease as they drifted into a peaceful sleep. The next morning, dressed in the attire of a Primus from the Ministry of Rites, Xiao Yunduan prepared to attend the imperial palace for the banquet. The grandeur of the banquet in the midst of the imperial garden was enhanced by the vibrant blooming of centaurea flowers. The enchanting spring scenery added to the overall splendor of the event, creating a dazzling and pleasant atmosphere. As Xiao Yunduan made his entrance, the maids and eunuchs, under the guidance of the Ministry of Rites officials and administrators, were bustling about with their tasks. Many advanced scholars had already gathered, and the air was filled with a sense of camaraderie, whether they were familiar faces or strangers. They greeted each other warmly, striving to forge connections and establish friendships. In the future, they would be colleagues, and fostering positive relationships was crucial. No one knew who among them would rise to prominence or require assistance down the line. It was wiser to maintain goodwill and amicability rather than fostering enmity. However, as Xiao Yunduan stepped into the imperial garden, a hush fell over the advanced scholars who had been engaged in lively conversations. All eyes were fixed on him, filled with various emotions: curiosity, avoidance, mockery, disdain, or even a somber demeanor. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know to report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 975. No regrets. The advanced scholars observed him intently, but none approached him. They merely smiled and nodded from a distance. By declining the Tian family's offer, he effectively severed his career prospects. His reputation would suffer greatly. Furthermore, befriending him meant going against the powerful Tian family, a risk no one was willing to take with their own future. It was fortunate that they refrained from kicking him when he was down. Most people regarded him as foolish. Some secretly admired his courage, yet they questioned the value of his actions. He should have been surrounded by admirers, greeted with laughter upon his arrival. Instead, he was shunned, receiving no acknowledgement or greetings. She pondered on his emotions and whether he regretted his decision. Xiao Yunduan, however, harbored no regrets. Regardless of others' treatment, he remained the Primus, unmatched by anyone else. Xiao Yunduan chose not to engage in the commotion. He found a seat and patiently awaited his tea. With no desires in her heart, she remained free from worries and concerns. Soon, Lu Min and Gu Zhio arrived together, exchanging greetings with everyone before joining Xiao Yunduan at his side. "Brother Xiao, why didn't you wait for us?" one of them exclaimed. "Yeah, we went to Brother Xiao's home and discovered he had already left," another added. Xiao Yunduan smiled. "I apologize, it's my fault. I will make it up to you, I promise." The three of them exchanged glances and burst into laughter. "Of course. We won't stand on ceremony with you, Brother Xiao." They then shifted their conversation to another topic. Xiao Yunduan hadn't invited them to accompany him because he didn't want to trouble them. They understood that their previous comments had made their position clear. Xiao Yunduan felt grateful, their loyalty hadn't been in vain. Lu Min and Gu Xiao didn't consider it a big deal. They hailed from the same place as Xiao Yunduan and had always shared a good relationship. Even if the Tian family held a grudge and severed ties with Xiao Yunduan, they wouldn't let it affect their friendship. If the Tian family wasn't narrow-minded, they wouldn't mind continuing to spend time with Xiao Yunduan. After all, they were friends. So they decided to be open and candid as always, to avoid unnecessary complications. Gradually, all the advanced scholars arrived, including the second and third place winners, whose treatment stood in stark contrast to Xiao Yunduan's as the Primus. As the runner-up and third place winner entered, they received an abundance of flattery and warm greetings. However, both individuals were over 40 years old, with half of their hair already gray. They didn't possess the same level of attractiveness as Xiao Yunduan. Even though they received flattery from the crowd, a sense of regret lingered within them. Officer Tian and the other esteemed adults arrived shortly after. The advanced scholars held their breath and respectfully greeted them. Many eyes shifted towards Xiao Yunduan. Remaining composed, Xiao Yunduan greeted everyone without distinction. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know to report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 976, Eager Officer Tian cast a disdainful glance at Xiao Yunduan, a sneer playing on his lips. As long as the Tian family held power, Xiao Yunduan would never rise above. How audacious of him to attend the banquet after offending the Tian family. Officer Tian begrudgingly acknowledged that Xiao Yunduan stood out among the advanced scholars. It was no wonder his prideful daughter had developed feelings for him. But Xiao Yunduan was too foolish to comprehend the gravity of his actions, ensuring an unfavorable fate awaited him. One day, he would regret his choices. As the time neared, a group of well-dressed eunuchs guided the advanced scholars to line up according to their rankings, first, second, and third. They followed the courtiers and knelt before the emperor as a gesture of respect. The advanced scholars couldn't help but feel a surge of excitement as they beheld the emperor's presence. It was a profound honor to witness the sky in such a manner. Accompanied by the crown prince, several princes, and distinguished scholars from the pavilion, Emperor Qian of Qi entered the imperial garden. His gaze fell upon the newly minted advanced scholars, kneeling before him. He beamed with joy. When the government admitted scholars, it injected fresh vitality into the court, ensuring a smooth transition of power. Each new examination held immense significance. Once the emperor settled in his seat, the ceremonial officer's voice rang out, and the advanced scholars and courtiers prostrated themselves. Long live the emperor! The cheers surged like a tsunami, resonating through the skies. Emperor Qian's face lit up with delight. He laughed heartily, instructing everyone to rise. He commended them and encouraged the scholars to devote themselves to the nation, shoulder the burdens of the imperial court, and work diligently for the well-being of the people under the Qin dynasty's rule. The newly inducted advanced scholars knelt once again and replied with resounding voices, their unified cheers filling the air. Their faces flushed with excitement, and their eyes sparkled with anticipation. The energy within them surged, their hearts yearning to become diligent officials who would work tirelessly for the country and its people, a gesture of gratitude towards the benevolent emperor. Emperor Qian's satisfaction grew, and he instructed the servants to serve wine and delicacies to the scholars. At such gatherings, poetry compositions were expected, serving as a means for courtiers to engage with the advanced scholars and familiarize themselves with one another. It was also an opportunity for the new scholars to showcase their talents. The advanced scholars brimmed with enthusiasm, eager to participate in this customary exhibition. This was the highly anticipated spectacle of every banquet, a lively, captivating display of talent. Following the announcement of the rankings, preparations commenced, and confidence ran high among the scholars. Some even harbored ambitions to surpass the competition with their prowess and secure the top spot. For her, it marked her first appearance before the emperor, a promising beginning. If she could please the emperor and elicit his approval with a simple, good, the courtiers and officials would regard her in a new light, paving the way for a prosperous future. After 3 rounds of wine, the conversation shifted towards poetry. Under the guidance of the crown prince, other princes, and ministers, Emperor Qian of Qi proposed a topic, requesting the scholars to exhibit their talents. Laughter subsided, and their minds began to contemplate, aiming to deliver an impressive speech that would etch their names in history. Emperor Qian was known for his affability, provided his own interests were not at stake. For instance, he sympathized with the advanced scholars, apprehensive that some might exploit the opportunity to criticize and provoke controversies. Hence, he decided to forego a specific format and instead invited the scholars to compose poems. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know to report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 977. Good. The advanced scholars reveled in their joy, having successfully advanced to the next level. Their spirits soared, and they sought an outlet to express their emotions. Poetry became the perfect medium through which they could convey their sentiments and determination, presenting a prime opportunity to showcase their loyalty to the emperor and the imperial court. A hush fell over the lively scene. Xiao Yunduan recited quietly, swiftly crafting a composition. As customary, the eunuchs collected the poems penned by the scholars and presented them to the accomplished senior scholars of the Hanlin Academy for preliminary evaluation. The most exceptional works were then selected, around 7 or 8, and transcribed. These copies were subsequently presented to the emperor, important ministers, and shared with all those present for appraisal. The masterpieces of the Primus, runner-up, and third-place winner, however, were immediately presented to the emperor, with the 3 scholars themselves stepping forward to kneel and present their works. Jealousy and envy simmered among the other advanced scholars as they gazed upon the trio. All eyes were fixed on Xiao Yunduan. He was not only the Primus but also the youngest, and the scandal surrounding him and the Tian family's elder miss had attracted the most attention. The situation grew increasingly complex. Amidst the jealousy and envy, there were also individuals who relished the opportunity to mock and witness the unfolding drama. Yet, Xiao Yunduan paid no heed to the commotion. Setting down his pen upon completion, he patiently awaited the summons. When the appointed time arrived, the ceremony supervisor relayed the message. Xiao Yunduan, along with the other 2 winners, rose to their feet, holding their works with reverent hands. They bowed respectfully, lifting their poems high above their heads, requesting the emperor's guidance and instruction. Emperor Qian graciously accepted the 3 works presented by the eunuch, his gaze lingering a little longer on the Primus and the other 2 winners. Compared to the 2nd and 3rd place winners, the Primus exuded an exceptional air of handsomeness and refinement. Contemplating the beautiful compositions he had penned and considering his youthful age, which promised many years of service to the country and the imperial court, the emperor's satisfaction grew. Recalling the Primus' humble origins in a farmer's family and the arduous journey he had undertaken to rise from a small village, Emperor Qian discerned the scholar's remarkable intelligence and diligence. With a gentle smile, Emperor Qian directed his attention towards Xiao Yunduan, further affirming his contentment. Observing this exchange, the other courtiers and advanced scholars who had been fixated on Xiao Yunduan felt a surge of complex emotions. Some became even more envious, secretly hoping that Officer Tian would be given a humbling lesson. Officer Tian sat with an upright posture, casting a cold gaze in Xiao Yunduan's direction, simmering with annoyance. Though he maintained a composed facade, internally, he was writhing in discomfort, beset by embarrassment. The more amiable and satisfied Emperor Qian appeared towards Xiao Yunduan, the more ludicrous it made the Tian family and their daughter. Through this filter, Emperor Qian promptly expressed his opinion upon inspecting Xiao Yunduan's work. Excellent! He nodded with satisfaction, breaking into a joyful laughter. You, as my chosen Primus, possess exceptional talent. Come, let me share my thoughts on it. In truth, Emperor Qian himself was not particularly adept at poetry. He remained a layman in the art, able to discern between ordinary and good compositions, yet unable to distinguish the nuances of excellence. Nonetheless, he held a genuine fondness for his chosen Primus. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know to report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 978, Xiao Yunduan was taken aback by the emperor's praise. He even questioned whether he was looking at his own work. He knew the true caliber of his composition. It was an ordinary piece, perhaps commendable in the eyes of average scholars, but among the esteemed gathering of scholars present, including many renowned and accomplished individuals, it should not have stood out. As the Primus, he understood that not all advanced scholars excelled in poetry. Thus, it was normal for the Primus to produce a more ordinary piece among such esteemed experts. No one would suspect his lack of talent. Therefore, he had felt little pressure while crafting this particular poem. Yet, he couldn't comprehend why the emperor had spoken so highly of it. Emperor Qian, in his praise, ordered his attendants to give the poem a closer look. What more could they do? Xiao Yunduan smiled and added a few more words of gratitude, all the while wondering if he was truly deserving of such accolades. After all, when the emperor commended them, the courtiers would undoubtedly follow suit. They were not as discerning as the emperor himself. The eunuch responsible for delivering the poetry also recited it to the other advanced scholars. Copies of the poem were distributed to the scholars as well. The expressions of the advanced scholars stiffened momentarily, exchanging glances with one another. They mustered forced smiles and joined the ministers in praising and admiring the work. That is an exceptional poem. No wonder he is the Primus, he is capable of producing such magnificent work. I am so lucky to have been able to read the masterpiece by the Primus. Look at the beginning of the story, it is totally out of the ordinary. Ordinary people would never have thought of this. I think that is the best idea. How did you get it? The Primus is so quick-witted. It is so good to use the words unclean and scarred moon in these two areas. Xiao Yunduan got so nervous. He, who had been calm and honest since he walked into the imperial garden, finally felt embarrassed and uncomfortable. He had no idea where to put her hands and how to place his feet. He sat there stiffly, not knowing whether to laugh or cry. That was such a terrible feeling. Hearing the compliments about Xiao Yunduan, Emperor Qian believed that his Primus was very good at making poems. Why were they speaking so sincerely? He laughed and said happily, "My Primus is so talented and handsome." The ministers and advanced scholar were speechless inwardly, but they all agreed with Xiao Yunduan. They spoke highly of Xiao Yunduan, saying that he was the best scholar in history, and that ordinary poem of his was one of the best poems in history. Xiao Yunduan could not stand that anymore. He got up, bowed and said, "Your Majesty, I am so ashamed, I don't deserve your praise." Emperor Qian laughed. "You are too modest, Primus. Not only are you advanced, but you are also morally upright. I am very glad." Xiao Yunduan said, Thanks." Why did he feel that the story was getting worse and worse? If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know to report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 979, Primus Popularity. You're absolutely right, we are like a family. No need to be modest. Emperor Qian grew increasingly satisfied as he looked at Xiao Yunduan. He laughed and continued praising him, thoroughly pleased with his performance. Oh, yes. Suddenly, an idea crossed Emperor Qian's mind. He glanced at Officer Tian and smiled mischievously. Old Tian, didn't your daughter mention that she fancies one of my advanced scholars? Who has caught her interest? Bring her forth, and let me see how she compares to the Primus. Upon hearing this, the Crown Prince furrowed his brow. His father had a habit of doing as he pleased, but this was a banquet at the Qiongling forest, and such remarks were undignified. He seemed to be deliberately setting up enemies for the Primus. If the Crown Prince hadn't known his father's nature, he might have suspected that his father had orchestrated this situation intentionally. First, he praised the Primus for his ordinary poem, and now he was provoking a public confrontation with Officer Tian's daughter. But the Crown Prince understood his father well. He lavished praise on the Primus and then turned to Officer Tian precisely because he had this plan in mind. However, it was inappropriate for him to bring it up. His father was too preoccupied with cultivating alongside Daoist Shangjin and the other Daoist masters to pay much attention to external matters. He had no knowledge of the situation between the Primus and the Tian family. The Crown Prince had intended to address the issue between Officer Tian and the Primus after the banquet, to calm their tempers. But now his father had raised the matter once again. The Crown Prince felt as if he were about to faint. As expected, after Emperor Qian finished speaking, a strange silence descended upon the surroundings. Some people lowered their heads, fearing that the emperor would become angry and create a scene. Others couldn't help but suppress a secret smile, eagerly anticipating the unfolding drama. Some felt profound embarrassment on behalf of Xiao Yunduan. Emperor Qian sensed the tension in the air. What? He raised an eyebrow and chuckled. Old Tian, does your daughter really have a crush on my Primus? Ha ha ha, she certainly has good taste. Your Majesty, Xiao Yunduan interjected, bowing respectfully. I already have a wife, and I highly doubt that elder Miss Tian would be interested in me. If such a rumor exists, it must have been spread mistakenly. Please, Your Majesty, allow me to clarify. Officer Tian snorted and cast a disdainful glance at Xiao Yunduan. The Crown Prince joined in, trying to defuse the awkward situation. The Primus is correct. He is already married, and this rumor seems to be a result of misinformation. Father, you may not be aware of the details. The Crown Prince proceeded to provide a brief explanation to Emperor Qian, carefully choosing his words to steer the narrative away from the rumor. It's all baseless gossip. This is utterly absurd, and I don't even know where to begin. Finally, he added, Father, I implore you to help the Primus and elder Miss Tian clear their names. Your Majesty, Officer Tian stood up and bowed respectfully. I apologize for saying this, but my daughter lacks good judgment. She didn't make it as an advanced scholar, which greatly disappointed me. I forbade her from discussing such matters further, yet somehow these ludicrous rumors have surfaced. It's truly ridiculous. I am confident that the rumor will fade away soon. Primus, please disregard it. Upon hearing this, Emperor Qian's eyes gleamed with understanding. He exchanged a knowing glance with the Crown Prince and Officer Tian, comprehending the situation clearly. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know to report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 980. Peace. Having been emperor for over 40 years and now at the age of 64, Emperor Qian had weathered countless storms throughout his reign. He had witnessed all sorts of rumors and scandals. If the rumor had gained traction, it meant that there was some truth behind it. While spreading rumors about the Primus might not be too scandalous, spreading rumors about the Tian family's elder miss would be a great humiliation for them. However, the fact that even the Crown Prince was aware of the rumor indicated that it had likely spread throughout the city. The Tian family's reputation would be greatly tarnished if the rumor persisted. Emperor Qian found the whole situation intriguing. After all, he had appointed the Primus of the new cohort, and he knew that the Primus remained loyal to his wife. His decision had been correct. Emperor Qian understood that not everyone could resist the influence of the Tian family. It was not surprising that they had severed ties with the Primus and arranged a new marriage for him. The Tian family might have been unfortunate, but they couldn't blame the Primus for their own misfortune. While he believed that the Tian family had brought this upon themselves, Emperor Qian acknowledged their status and prestige. The elder miss of the Tian family was the niece of the imperial concubine and often paid visits to the palace. He had interacted with her before and recognized her intelligence. She displayed a touch of arrogance, but such demeanor was expected from a noble lady in the capital. He quite liked that young woman. Yet, he couldn't help but feel a sense of sadness for her. Emperor Qian decided against pressing for the truth, as doing so would only bring humiliation upon the Tian family. Instead, he spoke out against the rumor. This is preposterous. How dare they spread such false information? It is unfair to both the Primus and the Tian family. Ginseng, present a jade ornament to Mr. Primus and a golden hairpin to the Tian family's young lady, he commanded, wanting to show his support and respect for them. Yes, Your Majesty. Ginseng promptly acknowledged the order and instructed his men to bring the requested rewards. Xiao Yunduan and Officer Tian stepped forward and kowtowed, expressing their deep gratitude. Emperor Qian smiled warmly and directed the couple to drink a cup of wine in front of him. This is all my fault, and your families have been affected as well. Drink this cup of wine in my presence, and let us forget about this incident. We are all officials serving the court, and it is crucial that we foster harmony and work together for the greater good. Yes, Your Majesty. I will always keep your words in mind, and I will never disappoint you. Xiao Yunduan vowed sincerely. Your teaching shall be engraved in my heart, Your Majesty, Officer Tian added respectfully. With their wine glasses in hand, the two exchanged a meaningful glance, clinked their glasses together, and downed the wine in one swift gulp. Xiao Yunduan understood that he would not be leaving the capital. Instead, he would be joining Hanlin Academy. Officer Tian also grasped the situation. For the time being, he would refrain from causing trouble for Xiao Yunduan and treat him amicably on the surface. Both of them, grateful for the emperor's leniency, were left with no room to voice any objections. The consolation bestowed upon Shanshan by Emperor Qian further ensured that no one would dare challenge the situation. However, Shanshan's prospects for finding a good suitor in the next couple of years were dim. All because of Xiao Yunduan. Officer Tian was in no rush. He would make Xiao Yunduan pay for his actions. Keeping him within the capital would allow for easier monitoring and manipulation. Xiao Yunduan had become an eyesore, but Officer Tian was determined to make him regret his deeds. No one would escape unscathed after humiliating the Tian family. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know to report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 981. Staying in the capital. The advanced scholars who had eagerly anticipated witnessing Xiao Yunduan's downfall were left disappointed. How fortunate this man was! He had never expected that both the Crown Prince and the Emperor would shield him from disaster so effortlessly. With the Emperor and Crown Prince intervening, no one would dare to bring up the matter again. To do so would be challenging the authority of the Emperor and the Crown Prince themselves. Observing Officer Tian and Xiao Yunduan drinking together, Emperor Qian chuckled and nodded approvingly, effectively reinvigorating the atmosphere. The scene became lively once more. They continued to revel in the enjoyment of poetry, the rewards bestowed by Emperor Qian, and the camaraderie among the advanced scholars. It was a delightful experience that lasted for half a day before everyone departed from the imperial garden. As they bid their farewells, several of Xiao Yunduan's classmates, apart from Lu Min and Gu Qiao, approached him and exchanged pleasantries. Xiao Yunduan maintained a composed demeanor, responding politely to their greetings. Such was the way of the world. Most individuals possessed an innate instinct to seek advantages and avoid disadvantages. He did not hold their swift change in attitude against them. However, he recognized that true feelings were revealed during times of trouble. While they exchanged greetings and pleasantries, he did not consider them genuine friends. Lu Min and Gu Qiao were genuinely overjoyed for Xiao Yunduan. They held great admiration for his talent, and with Xiao Yunduan by their side, they unconsciously felt a sense of security, as if they had found a pillar of support. With the crisis now averted, the Tian family would likely let the matter go. Thus, the two of them breathed a sigh of relief. Accompanying Xiao Yunduan on his way home, Lu Min and Gu Ziya's presence startled Qiao Xian upon seeing them together. Lu Min and Gu Qiao were bursting with excitement, their eyes shining as they eagerly recounted Xiao Yunduan's triumph at the banquet and how the Tian family had been saved. Qiao Xian turned to Xiao Yunduan, his curiosity piqued. With a smile, Xiao Yunduan nodded and handed her the jade. "The emperor presented this to me. Keep it safe." This jade rui held significance beyond being a gift from the emperor. It could serve as a reminder to those who dared to bother them that they had the means to defend themselves. Qiao Xian carefully opened the brocade box, revealing a long, white jade rui nestled on the bright yellow satin. The jade was elegant and beautiful, intricately carved with auspicious clouds, grass, and Ganoderma lucidums, exuding exquisite craftsmanship. It was truly a priceless treasure. Qiao Xian smiled, feeling fortunate. "I am truly blessed today. This jade rui is a magnificent gift from the emperor." Lu Min chimed in, grinning. "Brother Xiao, with your talent and the emperor's high regard for you, I'm afraid you'll receive even more rewards in the future." Gu Qiao chuckled, adding, "Indeed, ha ha ha." They all laughed merrily. With the crisis resolved, the tension dissipated, and Lu Min and Xiao Yunduan had much more to discuss. The three of them headed to the study together. Qiao Xian instructed Li Qiao and Li Xia to purchase ingredients for dinner, ensuring they would have a meal before returning home. As Lu Min and Gu Qiao bid farewell and left the Xiao family's premises, darkness descended, and the vibrant hues of the sunset faded away. Qiao Xian was trimming a cluster of rhododendrons in the courtyard, while Xiao Yunduan observed from the sidelines. "Darling, you can't simply abandon your position, can you?" Qiao Xian voiced his concerns. Understanding the implications, Xiao Yunduan nodded. "Indeed, I will likely have to remain in the capital. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know to report so we can fix it as soon as possible." Chapter 982. Qiao Xian's bet. The emperor held such a high opinion of him that he remained oblivious to the unfolding events. However, by doing so, the Ministry of Personnel would never force him to leave the capital. "My dear, I will seize an opportunity to suggest paying respects to our ancestors, and then," Xiao Yunduan smiled bitterly, his determination apparent. "You can stay in the village once we return." Their household was well stocked, and the bustling province was within close reach, allowing her to acquire anything she desired. Her family treated her kindly, ensuring she was not mistreated in his absence. County Magistrate Qiao would soon depart for the capital, and the incoming county magistrate would likely avoid causing them trouble, as long as they acted sensibly. The odds of convenience were even higher. She envisioned a life of freedom and happiness back home. Qiao Xian was taken aback. Living in the village, she lacked nothing. The family was harmonious, and she had the freedom to explore the mountains and the town whenever she pleased. It was an idyllic pastoral life she had always dreamed of. It couldn't be more perfect. However, that was no longer what she desired. "You want to separate from me?" "That's not what I meant, you're right." Qiao Xian's expression turned sorrowful and distressed. "You achieved the highest position and received recognition from the emperor, yet you still wish to remain a government official in the capital. You want to cast me aside and pursue a contented life in the city. Perhaps you will take on concubines one after another. In a few years, I will bear children for other concubines as well. Qiao Xian had been teasing him, but as she spoke, a tinge of sadness crept into her voice. Tears welled up in her eyes. It was true. As the saying goes, husbands who are separated by 1,000 miles might as well be strangers. They were thousands of miles apart, and the capital city was so enchanting. No matter how pure-hearted and devoted he would inevitably be influenced by the passage of time and the vast, ever-changing environment. Qiao Xian didn't want to take that risk, and she couldn't bear the consequences. She wasn't being overly suspicious. She believed in trusting him, but she knew it wouldn't be that simple. Humans were social creatures, susceptible to their surroundings. Many people clung to their initial intentions, but over time, they changed. That change wasn't solely because of him, but also due to the environment. Being by his side or not made a world of difference. He understood his own intentions when he suggested she return to her hometown. He was worried she would face hardships or mistreatment in the bustling city, but she had no intention of staying in the village. She possessed extraordinary abilities that could protect her, and no one could easily harm her. Even without those abilities, she wouldn't leave. Xiao Yunduan was alarmed by Qiao Xian's words. Anxiously, he tried to explain, No, my love, you've misunderstood me. That's not what I meant. That's exactly what you're implying. No, I'm just concerned about your well-being. So, I shouldn't feel hurt when you take on a concubine. I don't have any concubines. What about in the future? There won't be any. You'll be thousands of miles away, and I won't be able to see you either, right? What if someone tries to woo you? What if the emperor insists on assigning someone to attend to you? Xiao Yunduan found himself torn between laughter and tears. Absolutely not. The emperor is far too occupied to meddle in such matters. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know to report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 983, Staying in the Capital, What If It Does? Xiao Yunduan. My love, you enjoy arguing, don't you? You're pushing me away and not allowing me to voice my concerns. No, I'm not pushing you away. Xiao Yunduan was completely thrown off track by Qiao Xian's persistent questioning. He sighed, caught between laughter and tears. But I am genuinely worried about your well-being in the capital. Qiao Xian spoke softly, but you're not concerned about me when I'm not in the capital? Xiao Yunduan was taken aback. You don't want to see me after so many years. Annoyance flashed across Xiao Yunduan's face. I want to stay in the capital. Xiao Yunduan smiled as he looked at Qiao Xian. All right, let's stay together here. Qiao Xian smiled, tears still lingering. Don't worry, the Tian family has little connection with us, and we might cross paths again soon. The Tian family doesn't care about someone like me, a concubine's daughter who knows little. But you, as an officer in the court with ties to the Tian family and many acquaintances in the court, you need to be cautious. I may not be able to assist you in other matters, but I can provide you with a peaceful home to rest in. Isn't that wonderful? Xiao Yunduan felt warmth spreading through his heart. He smiled. Who says you know nothing? You're absolutely right. I'm not afraid to resign, and I don't care about political intrigues. I can simply give up my position. Let's stay in the capital for as long as we can. Qiao Xian smiled in return. Qiao Xian appreciated his words, even though they seemed pointless and lacking motivation. Upon reaching an agreement, they felt a sense of relief and relaxation, with reduced conflict. This was why it was said that those who lacked desires should remain strong. As long as he didn't exploit the Tian family, they had nothing to threaten him with. After the banquet, the prestige of the advanced scholar came to an end. As scholars, they had successfully and gloriously completed their journey. What awaited them next was another path to becoming an official. How well they fared on this journey was uncertain. Though each person had different qualifications to become an advanced scholar, they all started from the same point. In 10 or 20 years, who knew what would transpire? Perhaps the Primus would take no action, or the advanced scholar would rise to become a top-ranking officer. Such possibilities existed. They were both anxious and eager for the future, yet they silently swore not to become the most conspicuous individuals. Xiao Yunduan had already resolved not to dwell too much on this. He remained composed. Observing the scene, he suddenly noticed a distinction. When the Ministry of Personnel made the appointments, the positions were allocated one by one. In the capital, there remained a total of 46 individuals, dispersed across the 6 departments, Hanlin Academy, and various other locations. Naturally, the newcomers who had recently been recruited held positions at the 9th or 8th grade, with the highest being 7th grade. Their starting point could not be any higher. As for the rest of the group, they were dispatched as local officials throughout the country. The distinction lay in the fact that some were stationed in Jiangnan, the Central Plain, or the remote southern regions, while others were assigned to the bitterly cold and harsh territories in the northwest. This contrast was even more pronounced than those who remained in the intermediate locations. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know to report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 984. Careful. The differences extended beyond just the environment. The level of attention from the imperial court, the potential for greater achievements, and the speed of promotion varied greatly among the different locations. Xiao Yunduan caught the attention of Emperor Xian, which made the Ministry of Personnel hesitant to transfer him. He held a 7th-rank position at Hanlin Academy. Officer Tian secretly hoped that he could be assigned a more fortunate position, but he felt too embarrassed to act upon such desires. As a result, he could only grant Xiao Yunduan a 7th-rank editing position. However, Officer Tian did not approve of Xiao Yunduan's friends. Lu Min was dispatched to Fujian, while Gu Qiao was sent to a cold and remote place in the northwest. These locations were underdeveloped and challenging environments, ones that most people avoided and tried to steer clear of. Xiao Yunduan felt a deep sense of guilt and even treated them to a meal, burdened by his conscience. Lu Min and Gu Qiao were not particularly content either. Especially after the appointments were announced, some individuals made sarcastic remarks about Xiao Yunduan, further fueling their annoyance. Yet, they did not hold Xiao Yunduan responsible for their circumstances. "Brother Xiao, that's an order from the imperial court. It has nothing to do with you," Lu Min remarked. "Yeah, we're at the bottom of the rankings and lack connections, so we never expected to receive favorable positions. It's all within our expectations," Gu Qiao added. No matter what, Xiao Yunduan has become a government official. He excelled in his studies and lives up to his ancestors. That's something to be proud of, another friend chimed in. Indeed, who knows what the future holds? Being away from the capital might actually be a good thing. I'm curious about the scenery in the south, Lu Min pondered. I think the north has its own interesting aspects too. But Xiao Yunduan, you're headed to advanced mountains and rivers, and we're uncertain when we'll meet again. People in the intermediate positions can be quite treacherous, and you're a bit different. Be cautious in the future. Gu Qiao advised. Absolutely. Brother Xiao, please take care. They expressed their concern sincerely. Xiao Yunduan felt immense gratitude and nodded, engaging in a brief exchange of words with them. After their gathering, they were set to depart the following day. A long journey awaited them. Upon finishing the meal, Xiao Yunduan retrieved 2 envelopes and placed them in front of Lu Min and Gu Zhio, speaking earnestly. There's 500 liang in each envelope, totaling 20,000 liang. Please don't refuse it. You'll definitely need it in your new locations. We're friends, so don't worry about it. If you feel guilty, you can always return it to me later. Both Lu Min and Gu Zhio were taken aback. Brother Xiao, isn't this too much? They exclaimed. Though they were able to sustain their studies and had a decent family background, they were only well off within their local province. By living frugally, they could earn around 20 or 30 taels annually. For them, 20,000 liang was an enormous sum. Xiao Yunduan smiled warmly. We won't know the extent of our needs until we're in our respective positions. It's always good to have some for self-protection. Consider it a gift from me and your sister-in-law, and please don't turn it down. Moved by his kindness, they gratefully accepted the 2 envelopes. Brother Xiao, thank you so much. Well, all live well, and we'll meet again in the future. Take care, Brother Xiao. You too. Qiao Xian also handed each of them a cloth bag, each containing 5 potatoes. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know to report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 985, Future. This is a yam from the West. It seems quite rare. When you bring it to your new locations, cut the seeds into pieces and plant them like regular yams. They might grow well, Qiao Xian explained. Since it's called yam, it should be similar to what we have. You can steam, stir-fry, or cook it. I'm not sure about the taste, but the ingredients should be good. Take it with you as a keepsake. Qiao Xian suggested. Qiao Xian had pondered for a while before deciding to share the seeds with each of them. Given the stinginess of the Tian family and the remote and impoverished location they were assigned, the local residents struggled with year-round starvation and a difficult existence. Potatoes were a high-yielding crop that thrived in various types of soil. If they discovered this when planting them in the current year, it would naturally lead to promotion. With Qiao Xian's superpower-enhanced seeds, they would likely be more resistant to pests and environmental challenges, resulting in a bountiful harvest. Even if they had just a few seeds, they could ignite a significant change. Moreover, being in the south might provide an opportunity to find more potatoes. Lu Min would be in Fujian and might be able to obtain additional potatoes for planting. Regardless, Qiao Xian had already provided assistance when it was needed. What unfolded in the future would depend on their luck. By spreading potatoes locally, the residents wouldn't need to worry about lacking promotion and would have a more promising future. However, Qiao Xian couldn't explicitly explain the benefits of potatoes. It was something she couldn't articulate. Xiao Yunduan grinned. Take all of it. It's your sister-in-law's precious treasure, and she keeps it personally. No one else is allowed to touch it. Laughter filled the air. Lu Min and Gu Zhio expressed their gratitude to Qiao Xian. Qiao Xian continued to remind them, and they nodded in acknowledgement. As they departed, Xiao Yunduan expressed his gratitude to Qiao Xian. Thank you for your generosity. Without Qiao Xian, he wouldn't have received such a significant sum of money. Qiao Xian smiled and replied, My husband and I are one. You don't have to treat me as an outsider. No, I truly appreciate your help, Xiao Yunduan insisted. You're welcome. They exchanged smiles. In truth, without Xiao Yunduan and the Tian family's assistance, Qiao Xian would have struggled to survive in this world, despite her superpower. She couldn't reveal her abilities to others as it would only invite trouble. In the eyes of the world, she was merely a vulnerable woman. Making money wasn't easy, and even if she accumulated wealth, it would attract endless trouble and unwanted attention. It was quite bothersome. The only alternative would be to hide away in remote mountains and forests, but that would be dreadfully dull. Only when they were together could they truly enjoy themselves and experience life to the fullest. Money held little significance for Qiao Xian. With her skills, she could easily earn money whenever needed. After bidding farewell to Lu Min and the others, the remaining classmates departed from the capital and commenced their respective work assignments. Those assigned to positions in the capital reported to their respective governmental offices. Xiao Yunduan, too, was assigned to Hanlin Academy. Although no one dared to gossip openly about him and the elder miss anymore, he still faced exclusion from his peers. After all, it was widely known that the Tian family and the elder miss had suffered humiliation. The Tian family would never let Xiao Yunduan off the hook. Their actions were merely an attempt to save face. They eagerly anticipated Xiao Yunduan's downfall, convinced that his luck as an officer was about to run out. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know to report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 986, Hanlin Academy. No one dared to approach him at this moment. The incidents involving Lu Min and Gu Zhio had left a lasting impression on everyone. However, the Tian family refrained from commenting or making things difficult for Xiao Yunduan. They simply maintained a distance from him, as if he were invisible. Each individual prioritized their own future and avoided any involvement. Qiao Hongxi felt increasingly irritated. He had never anticipated becoming so closely associated with Xiao Yunduan. Initially, he had planned to manipulate others into harassing and humiliating Xiao Yunduan, eager to witness his downfall. After all, he was determined not to let Xiao Yunduan enjoy a good life. But now, he didn't dare to. Yes, he lacked the courage. However, the memory of the 4,000 liang he owed Xiao Yunduan and Qiao Xian, along with the words inscribed on that piece of paper, silenced any complaints he might have had. The couple were unpredictable. What if they were compelled to expose the secret publicly? The humiliation would be unbearable. Consequently, Qiao Hongxi had no choice but to avoid Xiao Yunduan. Even if he accidentally encountered him, he would lower his head and pretend not to notice. Unfortunately, news of their connection reached the ears of others soon enough. Concerned individuals began questioning why Qiao Hongxi wasn't seen with Xiao Yunduan. Your sister is married to Editor Xiao, making you his brother-in-law, right? Congratulations, Brother Qiao, you now have a prestigious son-in-law. Indeed, Brother Qiao, why don't you spend time with him? It's strange to see such distance between you two. Qiao Hongxi grew increasingly frustrated as he witnessed others either teasing him out of curiosity or plotting something malicious. Internally, he cursed at the absurdity of being judged for being a brother-in-law. After all, Qiao Xian was just the daughter of a concubine. Did anyone have close relationships with their concubine siblings? However, he couldn't express these thoughts aloud. Qiao Hongxi had no choice but to avoid discussing the matter. When he couldn't bear it any longer, he resorted to making vague comments to discredit Xiao Yunduan and shift blame onto him. He insinuated that Xiao Yunduan looked down on the Qiao family because of his position as Primus and lacked respect for them. Upon hearing these rumors, Xiao Yunduan simply smiled and ignored them. If someone was curious enough to approach him, he could only sigh and claim his innocence. Regardless of the inquiries, he would shake his head and remain tight-lipped. He had the support of the senior members of the Qiao family, including Qiao Xian and Qiao Hongxi. What did he have to fear? No matter how hard Qiao Hongxi tried to discredit him, as long as he possessed that leverage, Qiao Hongxi would never dare to cause any trouble. Xiao Yunduan secretly wished that Qiao Hongxi would intensify his discrediting attempts, making the situation appear even worse. It would only amplify the humiliation. Clearly, Qiao Hongxi wasn't particularly clever. After all, he and the Qiao family were holding something over Xiao Yunduan, forcing him to remain subdued. Unfortunately, Xiao Yunduan's words proved ineffective, and the rumors spread even further. Furthermore, certain individuals sought to ingratiate themselves with the Tian family, fueling the situation. Surprisingly, the person who relentlessly attacked Xiao Yunduan was unexpectedly promoted to a vacancy at the Hanlin Academy. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know to report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 987, Impeachment. To the man's astonishment, he was not only surprised but also delighted. The news caused a commotion among the members of the Hanlin Academy. Everyone there knew all too well that he was not supposed to be promoted this time. In a world filled with intelligent individuals, it became clear to them what had transpired. It was the doing of the Tian family. Officer Tian must have intervened and influenced the decision. Indeed, the Tian family showed no signs of relenting in their pursuit to keep Xiao Yunduan under their control. Others deeply regretted their actions. They had missed a golden opportunity. They lacked the courage to take advantage of such a foolish situation. But now it was too late. If the Tian family wished to see Xiao Yunduan suffer, they would oblige and curry favor with the Tian family. Thus, Xiao Yunduan was burdened with a highly challenging task. He chose not to retaliate and accepted all the responsibilities placed upon him. Someone knowledgeable from the censorate even suggested that Xiao Yunduan should face impeachment. They accused him of being immoral, disrespectful to his elders, rebellious, and treacherous. They argued that he brought disgrace upon all scholars and failed to live up to the emperor's expectations. They claimed he was unfit to hold any official position. Since revealing the involvement of the Tian family was not an option, they seized upon the Qiao family, turning it into an issue. The individual leading the impeachment believed they had found the perfect avenue and took great pride in their discovery. For scholars, possessing both morality and talent was of utmost importance. Once they were accused of immorality, their lives would be utterly ruined. Even the most revered scholar could fall from the heights of acclaim to the depths of despair overnight, let alone the Primus. Secretly, countless individuals were observing the unfolding drama. Normally, the appointment of a junior editor at the Hanlin Academy would not garner the attention of courtiers. Frankly, no one would be so idle as to impeach a minor editor. However, the situation changed when the Tian family became involved. Certain ministers felt that the Tian family was exerting undue influence. After all, it was the Tian family's own mistake for hiring Xiao Yunduan as their son-in-law. What did that have to do with editor Xiao? On the contrary, Xiao Yunduan's refusal to abandon his wife, even if it meant compromising his own future, was quite admirable. The emperor personally intervened, and Officer Tian even shared a drink with editor Xiao in the presence of the emperor, declaring that they should let it go. However, less than 20 days had passed. Now it was time to settle the score. Officer Tian was too arrogant, thinking he would not face any consequences when the Tian family had no involvement in this matter. They would see what the emperor thought of all this. But Xiao Yunduan had been waiting for this moment. What was the point of engaging in a minor dispute within the Hanlin Academy? At most, they would receive a scolding from the officials. It was not as thrilling as appearing in court. Thus, by severing ties with the Qiao family, the Tian family could maintain a clearer perspective. After this incident, the Tian family would think twice before attempting any cheap shots or tricks in the near future. Xiao Yunduan had to give them credit for that. Xiao Yunduan's impeachment left Emperor Xian feeling deeply displeased. The emperor held a favorable opinion of his newly appointed Primus. This young man possessed talent, and his rise from a humble background to the position of Primus was no easy feat. He exhibited diligence and, even after achieving success, did not succumb to greed for wealth and power. Furthermore, he remained steadfastly loyal to his wife. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know to report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 988. Xiao Yunduan was a man who adhered to principles and morality. He would not engage in any actions that went against his principles. Emperor Qian had a temperament that could swing between broad-mindedness and narrow-mindedness, depending on his mood and circumstances. When in a good mood, he could easily dismiss offenses and let them slide. However, if he happened to be in an unfavorable state, he could unleash consequences that were detrimental to the offender. In essence, Emperor Qian possessed the power to act as he pleased, and his moodiness was well known. Nevertheless, he was also highly intelligent. One would be wise not to attempt any deceit or manipulation in his presence, as the repercussions would be unbearable for anyone involved. Emperor Qian held a favorable impression of Xiao Yunduan. In fact, he sent someone to gather information about the situation between Xiao Yunduan and the Tian family. As a result, he sympathized with Xiao Yunduan, considering him a pitiable man. However, the fact that Xiao Yunduan was impeached by the censor within less than 20 days of joining the Hanlin Academy led Emperor Qian to doubt that the Tian family had no involvement. What was the motive behind the Tian family's actions? What did old Tian mean? He had assured the emperor that the matter was resolved, even sharing a drink with editor Qiao in his presence as a means to reconcile and seek revenge with a smile. Emperor Qian did not appreciate being disregarded as the emperor. Furthermore, he was intensely curious about the conflict between Xiao Yunduan and the Tian family, prompting him to delve into the details of Xiao Yunduan's connection with the Qiao family. He even made a copy of the letter of severance. The contents of the memorial that Xiao Yunduan had been informed of were strikingly similar to what was written in the severance letter. However, Xiao Yunduan and Qiao Xian had been coerced into signing the contract, despite its unfavorable terms. No one would willingly accept something that was detrimental to their own interests. The Qiao family's behavior was utterly domineering. They were simply bullying Xiao Yunduan, a recommended individual with no notable prospects, and Qiao Xian, a daughter of a concubine, as if they believed the two were powerless. On the occasion of their only visit to the Qiao family, as Qiao Xian departed, she received a slap across the face. Many onlookers witnessed her tearfully seeking solace in Xiao Yunduan's arms at the entrance of the Qiao family. Yet, the Qiao family shamelessly claimed that it was the couple who had instigated the confrontation. Such an assertion was preposterous. That was the Qiao family's account. Surely, no one else would believe such a fabrication, right? Little did they anticipate that Xiao Yunduan would eventually become the Primus and join the prestigious Hanlin Academy. Qiao Hongxi proved to be the most vexatious of all. He was well aware of the truth, yet he persisted in discrediting Xiao Yunduan. Conversely, Xiao Yunduan remained an honest and well-mannered man. He could only defend himself with a bitter smile and a sigh, insisting on his innocence and refraining from speaking ill of the Qiao family. That was an act of great benevolence. If that gesture didn't suffice, what more could be expected of them? How dare they question Xiao Yunduan's morality? It was utterly absurd. Emperor Qian formulated some conjectures based on the information he had gathered. Xiao Yunduan didn't need to explain anything further. The emperor had already grasped the situation clearly. Feeling that he, as the Primus, had been unjustly treated, Emperor Qian resolved to defend him. Old Tian, that wretched scoundrel, had caused quite a commotion this time. Consequently, the next morning, Emperor Qian of Qi, who had been absent from court for at least half a month and was under the supervision of the crown prince, with the assistance of the second, third, and fourth princes, attended court. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know to report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 989, Emperor Xian's Anger. Additionally, Emperor Xian pointed to the memorial and ordered someone to summon strategist Qiao from the Hanlin Academy. He intended to personally interrogate him. Officer Tian and his associates felt a pang of unease, their hearts skipping a beat. The fact that the emperor said, "Please," indicated that the Primus held significant importance to him. They were all perplexed. Emperor Xian had been in power for over 40 years, and a new Primus was appointed every 3 years. It was nothing out of the ordinary. True, this young man was handsome, and people naturally paid attention to him, but what was the purpose behind all of this? They had assumed that the emperor would harbor disdain for Xiao Yunduan and strip him of his position. However, now he was planning to personally interrogate him. Ministers who had a cordial relationship with Officer Tian couldn't help but reproach him for his pettiness. They had already let the matter go, so why did he continue to bear a grudge? As a first-class officer of the imperial court, he had made a mistake due to his family's actions. Yet, the emperor had attempted to reconcile the situation, but Officer Tian persisted, incessantly harassing Editor Qiao. How narrow-minded he was. Others became even more cautious. The Tian family's pettiness served as a warning to tread carefully when forming alliances with them in the future. Who knew when they might unintentionally offend them and incur their lasting enmity? Xiao Yunduan arrived at the court and gracefully performed a kowtow. Emperor Xian couldn't help but feel a sense of satisfaction upon witnessing this. Just as Xiao Yunduan stood up, Censor Liu glared at him and snapped, "Xiao Yunduan, your immorality, disrespect towards your elders, and lack of decorum are an affront to all scholars. Confess now and seek the emperor's forgiveness, or else you shall persist in your obstinacy." "How dare you!" Emperor Xian erupted in fury. He seized one of the memorials and hurled it toward Censor Liu's head, shouting, "I haven't uttered a word, yet you have the audacity to flaunt your authority. I specifically stated that I would personally conduct the interrogation, and now you seek to pronounce judgment. Who do you think you are? How dare you override me?" The courtiers were left in a state of shock, their heads bowed low and their breath held in anticipation. Censor Liu was taken aback, his mind reeling and his face drained of color. Cold sweat drenched his back. "Your Majesty!" Censor Liu collapsed to the ground, his voice trembling. I don't dare. I am innocent. I simply couldn't bear what he and Editor Qiao were doing, I couldn't bear it any longer. That's why I spoke up, Your Majesty, please. You're lying. Emperor Xian remained unmoved by his explanation. He delivered a fierce kick to Censor Liu and sneered. You're merely bullying him because he is young and inexperienced. You're trying to intimidate him into admitting fault without offering a defense. Do you think him a fool? You must have a death wish to play such a petty trick in front of me. Your Majesty, I beg you, I would never dare. Censor Liu nearly crumpled to the ground. Fear had rendered his voice hoarse and trembling. He continued to kowtow, the resounding thuds echoing through the silent throne room. The courtiers were seasoned political players, adept at reading between the lines. Censor Liu's intention had been to catch Xiao Yunduan off guard by attacking him before he could gather his bearings. However, the emperor saw through his scheme, laying it bare for all to witness. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know to report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 990, Thunder. He had publicly humiliated him. The courtiers were all reminded of a crucial fact: Emperor Xian's temperament was mercurial, and when he turned malicious, he spared no one's dignity. Emperor Xian remained unmoved, a cold sneer on his lips. Silence. I have no desire to hear any more of your nonsense. My court will not tolerate heretics, evildoers, and despicable individuals like you. Men, remove his black hat, strip him of his official attire, and escort him out of the Golden Throne Hall. Censor Liu felt as if he had been struck by lightning. Your Majesty, he had intended to plead for mercy, but upon seeing the icy glare in Emperor Xian's eyes, he dared not utter a word. If he said anything more, the Emperor would surely reprimand him for his lack of insight. His entire body went limp as he was dragged out of the chamber. Officer Tian felt as though he had been slapped across the face, the sting of humiliation searing through him. But what tormented him even more was the necessity to feign indifference, to act as though nothing had occurred. For he knew that to react would only deepen the humiliation. Officer Qiao, fear not. I am no tyrant, but I cannot abide those with wicked intentions attempting to deceive me. Emperor Xian turned to Xiao Yunduan, adopting a friendly tone. He gestured for the eunuch to present the memorial to Xiao Yunduan. If there is anything else you wish to convey, speak freely, and I shall make a fair judgment. Thank you for your benevolence, Emperor. Xiao Yunduan bowed respectfully, then rose to accept the document. The situation was progressing better than he had anticipated. Xiao Yunduan sighed ruefully as he recounted the events of his visit to the Qiao family with his wife, which resulted in their expulsion and his wife being subjected to physical abuse. He continued, I possess evidence in the form of a severance letter written by the Qiao family, formally disowning their relationship with both me and Ms. Qiao. However, as they are her family, I could not bring myself to reveal the truth. I had hoped to clear my name, but instead, matters have escalated, and the Emperor has been alerted. This is entirely my fault. The ministers were taken aback, while Officer Tian seethed with anger. Why did you not produce the severance letter earlier? It could have spared us much trouble. Xiao Yunduan requested that Officer Tian retrieve the severance letter from his residence. Emperor Xian sneered. There is no need. I am already aware of what transpired within the Qiao family. Fearing that you would approach them for financial support, they wrote the severance letter to belittle you. Now that you have risen to the position of Primus, they are envious and seek to tarnish your reputation. How despicable! I recognize the injustice you have suffered in this affair. Xiao Yunduan remained silent, processing the Emperor's words. Thank you for your consideration, Your Majesty, he finally responded. Emperor Xian let out a sigh. As the new Primus, if anyone dares to unjustly humiliate you, you have the right to seek support from the Crown Prince or the other princes. Let's see who would dare to act against you. It was absurd to think that his newly appointed Primus would be subjected to bullying without any support. Emperor Xian found the notion preposterous. Thank you for your concern, Your Majesty, Xiao Yunduan expressed his gratitude once more. Rise, Emperor Xian commanded with a wave of his hand, his gaze coldly sweeping over the courtiers. Is there anything else you wish to address? The courtiers shook their heads, acknowledging that the Emperor's perspective was just. No one dared to voice any dissent. They all understood the clear message conveyed by the Emperor. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know to report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 991, Officer Tian. The courtiers watched as the Emperor defended Editor Qiao, realizing that he had received a stroke of good fortune. With the Emperor's support, Editor Qiao would have the freedom to act as he pleased at the Hanlin Academy and even have influence over the Crown Prince and other princes. Emperor Xian expressed his disgust and asked, what about Qiao? Qiao at Hanlin Academy. The left assistant minister of the Ministry of Personnel responded, it is Qiao Hongxi, Your Majesty. He is no good either. Emperor Xian exclaimed, knowing the internal affairs that outsiders were unaware of. He takes advantage of strategist Xiao's soft-heartedness and bullies him. He is unworthy of his position. Demote him to an ordinary civilian without any rank. If he fails to show improvement, I doubt he can remain at Hanlin Academy any longer. You lack morality, do not tarnish the reputation of the Hanlin Academy. The left assistant minister bowed, his forehead covered in cold sweat. Yes, Your Majesty. Emperor Qian released his pent-up anger, feeling somewhat relieved. He snorted and dismissed the court. Before leaving, he glanced at Officer Tian and commanded him to attend an audience. Officer Tian respectfully acknowledged, feeling even more ashamed. Xiao Yunduan bid farewell to the courtiers and departed from the Qianqing palace. He waved to the departing courtiers and made his way back to the Hanlin Academy. The courtiers exchanged glances, shaking their heads, sighing, or even chuckling, each with their own thoughts on the events that had transpired. Editor Qiao was indeed fortunate, and it was clear that she should steer clear of any involvement with him in the future. The behavior of the Qiao family was completely uncalled for. They not only looked down upon Editor Qiao and his wife but even went so far as to present them with a severance letter. What gave them the right to fabricate stories about them? The unkindness exhibited by the Qiao family, particularly Qiao Hongxi, was truly disappointing. It was foolish of them to think they could concoct false evidence. How would they feel when the truth inevitably came to light? In Donghuan Pavilion, Officer Tian stood beneath, respectfully facing Emperor Qian, whose expression was quite grim. "Do you know why I have summoned you?" Emperor Qian inquired. Officer Tian dared not claim ignorance. He kneeled down and said, "I apologize. I did not explicitly order it, but I was not broad-minded enough. I allowed certain tactics to be employed, and I purposefully remained silent. If it weren't for me, those individuals would not have troubled a newly appointed editor. I am deeply sorry, Your Majesty. Please, punish me." Officer Tian kowtowed repeatedly on the ground, expressing his remorse. Emperor Qian, recognizing Officer Tian's astuteness, felt the anger within him dissipate. He acknowledged that Officer Tian possessed a sense of wisdom. "I will not punish you, but you have certainly made a fool of yourself. It's all in the past now, and I have already addressed the issue publicly, haven't I? If anyone dares to bring it up again, teach them a lesson. If anyone dares to resist, why make things difficult for my new Primus? He is talented and virtuous, and I have plans for his future. There is no need for you to create further obstacles for him. It is always commendable to rectify one's mistakes. Just ensure that such a situation does not arise again. Thank you for your kindness, Your Majesty. I will remember your teachings. I apologize, but concerning my daughter," Officer Tian sighed, his voice filled with regret. Emperor Qian understood the predicament. The Tian family's daughter had always been exceptional and proud, one of the finest among the noble ladies. It was a great disappointment that she had fallen into such a trap in her marriage. No wonder old Tian was so upset, his actions were driven by love for his daughter. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know to report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 992, Revenge. No one was to blame, it was simply a regrettable mistake. Emperor Qian's expression softened. "Very well, let's put this behind us. Never speak of it again." "Yes, Your Majesty. You may go now." "Thank you, Your Majesty." Officer Tian let out a sigh of relief as he exited the pavilion. That was a close call. He had felt utterly humiliated. For the time being, he would refrain from taking any actions against Xiao Yunduan. He would ensure that nothing would happen to him and that everything would go smoothly within a year. Otherwise, the blame would fall on his daughter, and that was simply exasperating. Officer Tian's annoyance grew, prompting him to change his plans. Instead of heading to the governmental office, he decided to go straight home to Madame Qiao. Inside the residence, Tian Shanshan was engaged in conversation with her mother. Observing Officer Tian's troubled expression, she offered a comforting smile. Who upset you? You must also take care of yourself. Don't let these matters get to you. If you show your anger, it will only invite sympathy from others and make us feel sorry for you. Madame Tian joined in, her smile gentle. Shanshan is right, my dear husband. Look at how filial our daughter is. Shanshan has always been a paragon of filial piety, and I am well aware of that. I am blessed to have such a wonderful daughter. Officer Tian chuckled, finding solace in Tian Shanshan's words. He felt a sense of relief wash over him. However, the weight of his daughter's recent misstep lingered in his mind, causing him further distress. She was such a kind-hearted girl, so why did she have to encounter such unfairness? He could no longer tolerate it. There was no time like the present to seek vengeance. After a brief exchange, Officer Tian escorted Tian Shanshan away and recounted the morning court incident to Madame Tian. Madame Tian felt a sense of suffocation. What does this have to do with you, dear husband? It's not your fault. If that Qiao person has offended someone, it's only natural for others to seek revenge. If he lacks the ability to handle it, he'll have to face the consequences. Why should you bear the blame? The Emperor's actions are completely unfair this time. Are we expected to shoulder the responsibility for anything that befalls the Qiao family? Madame Tian's words were fueled by her frustration, but Officer Tian could only offer a bitter smile and sigh. You're right. What do you mean? From this point forward, I will make it known that no one should cause any trouble for Qiao. I'll ensure that people pay attention to him and offer assistance if anything happens. Dear husband, you're being unreasonable. Madame Tian's annoyance grew. Don't worry, it's never too late for revenge. We can discuss this after 1.5 years. Once this matter subsides, we won't be held accountable for any misfortunes that befall him. The Emperor believes that someone is trying to gain favor with me. If I don't take action, the blame will fall on me. Madame Tian's frustration grew. It's just too much. But that's what the Emperor has decided. What can we do? Madame Tian's eyes welled up with tears. She used a handkerchief to wipe them away. Poor Shanshan, she doesn't deserve this, Officer Tian's heart ached. It wasn't just his daughter who had been wronged, he felt deeply humiliated as well. The Emperor's scolding of Censor Lu in front of everyone had been unbearable. He had never felt such shame in the court before. Things will get better in the future. Our Shanshan is wonderful, and she will surely find a great partner. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know to report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 993, Venting Anger on His Daughter-in-Law. Yeah, that man doesn't deserve someone like Shanshan. Exactly. Mrs. Tian's frustration lingered, and she pondered for a moment before speaking up. We may not be able to touch Mr. Qiao, but what about Miss Qiao? Madame Tian didn't want to wait for 1.5 years to seek revenge. The thought of it was infuriating. Officer Tian considered the suggestion and replied, the Emperor won't interfere in matters concerning women. But be cautious and don't let things escalate. You can trust me, old master. Mrs. Tian grinned. Rest assured, I know what needs to be done. Madame Tian sneered inwardly. If the Emperor still remembered the man named Qiao, she could temporarily spare him. After all, the Emperor wouldn't always remember him. She would let him live in misery for a while. Her daughter-in-law was merely a concubine's daughter, cut off from her own family. She must have been spoiled by her maternal relatives, which explained her cowardice and lack of intelligence. Humiliating such a woman would be a piece of cake. There were plenty of people willing to do the dirty work for the Tian family, she didn't need to personally intervene. It was for Miss Qiao's own good, of course. Miss Qiao had been publicly humiliated by the government officials, and everyone was laughing at her. They were about to witness whether Miss Qiao could salvage her pride. Then he would realize how mistaken he was. He would learn the weight of his loss if he didn't marry Shanshan. Miss Qiao's humiliation was imminent, and she would no longer find a place for herself in the capital. The more Madame Tian dwelled on this thought, the more content she became. Xiao Yunduan and Qiao Xian held a small celebration in the courtyard of the Xiao family. Both of them felt a sense of relief. With this knowledge, the Tian family wouldn't dare to make a move for at least 1.5 years. And 1.5 years provided ample time to bring about significant changes and accomplishments. In a few days, you'll find an opportunity to inform the secretary of Hanlin College that we'll be returning to our hometown to pay respects to our ancestors. We'll take care of everything back home. Qiao Xian nodded in agreement. Yes, we should handle our family affairs diligently. Qiao Xian couldn't simply disregard the fields and other properties they owned. Although Miss Fang and her family would assist in looking after them, the Yuezheng family in the province would also lend a helping hand. However, Qiao Xian's unique abilities were required to tend to the fruit trees and crops. They decided to explore the capital and purchase gifts to bring back home, allowing everyone in the family to experience a taste of the city. Xiao Yunduan had no objections to the plan. While Xiao Yunduan attended to his duties at the Imperial Academy, Qiao Xian ventured out with Li Qiao and Li Xia to shop for various presents for their family. Considering the long journey ahead, Qiao Xian refrained from purchasing too many items, opting for lighter and more manageable choices. However, due to the nature of snacks and pastries, it was challenging to transport them over a long distance. As a result, they reluctantly decided to forego the delectable treats and instead purchase dried fruits that could be used to make candied delicacies. Qiao Xian made another visit to various pharmacies, hoping to come across some live ginseng roots. The intention was to acquire them and store them in the space, anticipating the possibility of pleasant surprises. Qiao Xian couldn't shake off the feeling that the space was on the verge of undergoing an upgrade. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know to report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 994, Buying Living Ginseng. At this moment, if she could acquire 10 or 20 live ginseng plants and cultivate them, it would likely yield positive results. Expensive flowers like orchids and peonies could also prove to be highly effective. However, in the capital, such luxurious flowers and trees were always in high demand. They would be swiftly purchased by princes, kings, monarchs, and affluent families before even reaching the market. Money wasn't an issue for her, but she lacked the necessary skills. Hence, contemplating the matter was essentially futile. The demand for ginseng in the capital was exceedingly high. Perhaps, if luck favored him, he might be able to make a purchase. Qiao Xian had an exceptionally fortunate day. She successfully procured some live ginsengs from 2 different stores. In total, there were approximately 30 ginseng plants, varying in size. Qiao Xian felt as if she had discovered a treasure and managed to acquire everything at a bargain price. The amount she spent ran into tens of thousands. Even the wealthiest families in the capital did not purchase ginseng in this manner. Qiao Xian gained quite a reputation in the ginseng business, with numerous ginseng vendors eagerly offering their products to her. Even the 2 stores she had bought from were enthusiastically recommending some aged ginsengs. However, Qiao Xian declined all their offers. Although these aged ginsengs were of high quality, she could sense their lack of vitality. Over time, they had dried up and transformed into mere medicinal herbs. No matter how excellent they might be, they were of no use to her. Qiao Xian planted the 30 or so ginseng plants in her garden space. The following day, she witnessed all of them taking root in the soil and gradually rejuvenating. The spiritual energy was so abundant that Qiao Xian could see the expansion of the spring water area from the Proficiency Sutra. Standing near the spring, she gazed into the distance, unable to discern its end. It extended at least 3,000 to 4,000 meters away. Curiously, Qiao Xian casually broke a pomegranate and inserted it into the soil. To her surprise, the pomegranate firmly took root in the ground. The interspace no longer rejected ordinary plants like it used to. Even simple items were now accepted by the space. Qiao Xian was astonished. She had no idea how many things she could cultivate in this vast and fertile land. Regardless of the crop, it was evident that it would thrive and grow faster within this space. Moreover, the hut provided a storage space where items would never spoil. In the future, even during times of hardship like the Great Desolate Year, there would be no need to worry. Qiao Xian pondered over how to maximize the utilization of this land. Qiao Xian's first step was to divide the remaining 6 potatoes and plant 4.5 of them. She allocated 1.5 potatoes to the backyard of her small house in the capital. When the time for harvest arrived, it would be difficult for anyone to distinguish them if they were mixed together. The yield in the interspace was even more impressive. In less than 2 years, she would accumulate countless potatoes as seeds. Initially, she had some concerns. The potatoes needed to be planted within the current year, as planting them too late would be past the suitable season. Even though she had the assistance of the interspace, it wasn't ideal to delay the planting for too long. Since Qiao Xian was returning to her hometown with Xiao Yunduan, she couldn't plant the potatoes there. They had to be planted in the capital. However, the journey was long and time-consuming. It would take more than 3 months to reach their destination. Who knew what would become of the potatoes by the time they returned to the capital? Nevertheless, she had no other option. She was still in a dilemma, but unexpectedly, the interspace upgraded and became more accommodating. Now, she no longer had to worry. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know to report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 995, Updated Space. They could simply plant some in the backyard. Even if something went wrong, they could utilize the space to compensate for any setbacks. That was an incredibly positive development. Qiao Xian sensed that there was more than 300 mu of available land for cultivation in the intermediate space, although the exact number was not fixed. She could sense that the amount of arable land was increasing every day, but she wondered how long it would continue. Based on current estimates, another 300 mu would be available in approximately 10 days. If this situation could persist for 1 or 2 months, it would be fantastic. Qiao Xian had already made a firm decision. She was going to plant rice on the additional 300 mu. Farming in this space was different from outside. There was no need to flood the fields with water, the seeds could be sprinkled directly. When she purchased the rice seeds, she felt a bit overwhelmed by the large patch of land. Even if she were to plant just rice seeds alone, it would be an arduous task for one person. So Qiao Xian attempted to plant the seeds using her divine sense, which turned out to be successful. She was overjoyed. Within less than an hour, all 300 mu of rice had been planted. She concentrated and composed herself. She could even feel the rice seeds silently burrowing into the ground, reaching a depth, preparing for germination and gathering strength to emerge from the soil. At night, she couldn't resist coming to check again. The 300 mu of rice fields were already displaying a faint, tender green color. The rice seeds had already sprouted, and small needle-like sprouts were growing. From a distance, the sight was a soothing, pale green, soft, and adorable, evoking a sense of relaxation and joy. Qiao Xian was filled with immense delight. It was as if they had already glimpsed the bountiful harvest that awaited them, this place was abundant in fertility and vibrant energy, alleviating any concerns about diseases, pests, and unpredictable weather. They were undoubtedly poised for a bountiful harvest. Qiao Xian contemplated that upon her return to the village, she would plant additional fruit trees and create an orchard. This way, fresh fruits could be enjoyed throughout the year. And the beauty of it was that it didn't matter whether one resided in the north or south. Qiao Xian happily entertained these thoughts when Xiao Yunduan brought up the idea of paying respects to their ancestors to the Chancellor of Hanlin College. But now, he needed to carefully consider the matter. It was every scholar's ultimate dream to return to their hometown with honor after achieving the position of Primus. Paying homage to their ancestors was a glorious act, one that brought great honor to their family. The Chancellor dared not refuse them outright, yet he also hesitated to agree too hastily, fearing the wrath of the Tian family. So, with a smile, he vaguely stated that he needed some time to ponder the request and promised to provide Xiao Yunduan with an answer within a couple of days. Meanwhile, he assigned some tasks to keep Xiao Yunduan occupied, allowing him the opportunity to pay tribute to his ancestors. Xiao Yunduan nodded in understanding. The courtyard scholar let out a sigh of relief. He couldn't reject Primus Xiao's request, yet he had intentionally made things challenging, making it difficult for the Tian family to find fault with him any longer. Xiao Yunduan and Qiao Xian paid little heed to these circumstances. On that day, Qiao Xian received an invitation from Madame Lin of Hanlin Academy, inviting her to a gathering the next day. Qiao Xian promptly replied, assuring her attendance. Of course, she would attend. Xiao Yunduan worked at Hanlin Academy and had numerous colleagues there. If she were to skip the gathering, it would seem rather unsociable. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know to report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 996, Guest. Qiao Xian harbored doubts about her ability to navigate the gathering. Hanlin Academy held significant governmental authority, and many officials within were financially struggling. Some frequented pawn shops numerous times in a year. However, such positions held great value. To achieve fame and become an exemplary figure among scholars worldwide was to etch one's name into the annals of history. Moreover, the imperial court relied on Hanlin Academy scholars to compile official records, a prestigious duty that filled scholars with pride. Additionally, Hanlin Academy offered an alternative path. The 6 ministries, particularly the Ministry of Personnel and Ministry of Revenue, were staffed by individuals transferred from Hanlin Academy. To ascend to higher positions within the government and become heads of departments, one needed to undergo training at Hanlin Academy. Throughout the history of the Qin dynasty, every minister without exception hailed from the 6 ministries of Hanlin Academy, proceeding through the Ministry of Personnel before entering higher echelons of power. Though the odds of becoming a court leader were slim, admission to Hanlin Academy undoubtedly presented an opportunity, right? And due to this slim chance, officials within the 6 ministries were cautious about offending those from Hanlin Academy. After all, one could never predict the future. What if the person they offended today became the Prime Minister tomorrow? Or what if someone with whom they maintained good relations rose to the position of First Secretary? Unless it was a matter of life and death, there was no need to stir up trouble unnecessarily. Hence, Hanlin Academy held a unique and significant position within the entire bureaucratic structure of the capital. Lin Hanlin, currently a 6th-ranked servant, held a rank higher than Xiao Yunduan and exhibited commendable performance. He had promising prospects, potentially advancing to become a 5th-ranked servant or even joining the esteemed 6 tribes for further training. Madame Lin took great pride in her husband's accomplishments and held a prominent position among the wives of the officials at Hanlin Academy. Officer Lin, originally not from the capital, had dedicated 10 years of service at Hanlin Academy. Due to limited income, he had been unable to afford a house for a long time. In the earlier years, he faced significant hardships. However, 2 years ago, he received a substantial reward, allowing him to rent a decent living space. The banquet was hosted in this modest courtyard. Qiao Xian arrived at an opportune moment. As the wife of the Primus, she no longer carried the same audacity she had possessed when she assumed the role of Primus. She now identified herself simply as Mrs. Editor. Qiao Xian understood her place very well. Upon her arrival at the Lin household, she presented the gifts and greeted everyone with politeness. By this point, Qiao Xian had already discerned that the banquet might not unfold favorably. The gifts she brought included 2 pieces of fine Hangzhou silk, 2 pieces of inkstone of equal quality, and 2 boxes of renowned Yangtze's pastries from the capital. The pastries encompassed a total of 8 varieties, accompanied by 2 boxes of high-quality preserves, each consisting of 8 different kinds. This present was very generous among the women from the Hanlin Academy. The silk alone cost 5 liang. The Lin family was not a rich family, and Qiao Xian should have been very happy to receive such a generous gift from them, as if she were visiting a senior. Madame Lin should have treated her well too. But Qiao Xian observed carefully, Madame Lin was very happy, and she smiled brightly when she saw the presents. If you find any errors, ads pop-up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know to report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 997, Good Helper. However, the entire process didn't last long. Soon enough, her smile faded, and she rose from her seat. Qiao Xian comprehended the situation clearly. Madame Lin deliberately neglected to introduce the other madams to Qiao Xian. Qiao Xian wasn't someone to be easily manipulated. If Madame Lin refused to introduce them, Qiao Xian would make the request with a polite smile. Reluctantly, Madame Lin finally introduced them to her. Regardless of whether the other madams avoided her or treated her with fake smiles, Qiao Xian remained indifferent. All she needed was to know who they were. Madame Lin had invited numerous guests for the occasion, including 12 women from Hanlin Academy and the 6 ministries. The living room of the Lin household was filled with bustling noise, comprising both maids and elderly women. Xiao Yunduan, as one of the 6 advanced scholars who had recently joined Hanlin Academy, had 3 wives accompanying him. Madame Zhou and Madame Han, the new wives of the officials, harbored strong hostility towards Qiao Xian. Although they were not well acquainted with each other, this shared sentiment brought them closer, engrossed in their own conversations and laughter. Their disdain for Qiao Xian only deepened. Qiao Xian, who had been treated as a mere tool, could only sigh inwardly. The women chatted and laughed among themselves, purposefully ignoring Qiao Xian. It seemed they had no interest in engaging with her, whether intentionally or unintentionally. Qiao Xian had never intended to involve herself with them. Neither she nor Xiao Yunduan needed their approval. With the emperor's support, they wouldn't dare to make trouble, regardless of their dissatisfaction. After all, Censor Liu had been dismissed, and no one would risk making jests about their husband's future. They rarely associated with each other, and their presence had minimal impact on Qiao Xian's life. She had no intention of ingratiating herself with individuals she knew had ill intentions. That was simply the nature of their social circle. Unless they willingly accepted someone, forcefully entering their ranks was an arduous task. Furthermore, it was evident that the circle held a dislike towards her. "Oh, Mrs. Xiao Xiao, why are you so quiet? Come and join our conversation," one of the madams suddenly remarked, accompanied by a smile. All eyes turned towards Qiao Xian. "She is the wife of the Primus, and she's quite exceptional. It's no wonder she doesn't find us appealing," someone sneered. The comment wasn't particularly loud, yet it resonated with everyone present. Another person chimed in, laughing brightly, "Well, that's not entirely accurate. Times change, and the concept of honor and humiliation can fluctuate. We ought to see what the future holds. 10 or 20 years down the line, we'll have a clearer understanding. Everyone nodded in agreement. Indeed, being adept at studying doesn't guarantee proficiency in the role of an officer. Throughout history, there have been numerous advanced scholars who ascended to positions of power. Yes, success hinges not only on examination results, but also on genuine talent and character. Absolutely. If one lacks integrity, everything else becomes a facade. In my view, having a virtuous spouse is crucial. Laughter erupted among the gathering. That's right. We need a virtuous spouse to support us. A harmonious marriage is the key to avoiding trouble. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know to report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 998, Pretending. Qiao Xian smiled in response. Indeed, a good wife should refrain from speaking nonsensically and avoid causing unnecessary trouble. It is often the tongue that creates problems. Engaging in idle chatter is not worth the trouble. That's the wisdom I've acquired, isn't it? Her words caught everyone off guard, and the expressions on 3 or 4 individuals' faces changed abruptly. They exchanged bewildered glances. They had marginalized Qiao Xian and spoken ill of her, believing she was meek and foolish. In their eyes, she had merely put on a facade of composure. Little did they know that within her, she was already crumbling. As they looked down upon her, their envy grew. How could Primus Qiao, who had spurned the prestigious Tian family and rejected elder Miss, choose such a timid and foolish concubine's daughter? Unexpectedly, she had been pretending to be weak all along. Each word she uttered cut like a sharp blade. Madame Qin, known for her temper and seniority, seemed to assert her dominance. She sneered and aggressively addressed Qiao Xian. That's not a trivial matter, Mrs. Qiao. Your modesty has surprised us all. But couldn't you speak with a bit more decorum? You should show respect to the host, shouldn't you? Madame Lin has been so gracious to us, and you wouldn't want to spoil the atmosphere and dampen everyone's spirits. What could be the reason behind your behavior? I know your husband is highly capable, and the emperor supports him. However, that doesn't give you the audacity to disregard others' feelings, does it? I speak my mind freely, and am not even afraid if you get angry and report me. They exchanged glances, surprised by Madame Qin's obstinacy. Most of the other madams were aware of Madame Qin's hot temper and her penchant for putting on airs. She always sought praise wherever she went and enjoyed lecturing others with a sense of righteousness. Due to her husband's position as a 5th-ranked scholar, the second in command at the Hanlin Academy, everyone accorded her respect. Over time, her arrogance only grew. Unexpectedly, Madame Qin was causing a scene once again. The other madams felt a mix of nervousness and excitement. How would Mrs. Qiao respond? Qiao Xian was taken aback. Yes, she had been mocking Madame Qin. What was wrong with that? After all, they had all been mocking her. She could sense that Madame Lin must have been influenced by the Tian family. Some of the attendees had ties to the Tian family or harbored jealousy towards her. Qiao Xian smiled calmly. I thought Madame Qin was praising me, but apparently that's not the case. However, I am uncertain as to what I have done wrong. Please enlighten me, Madame Qin. Madame Qin's face contorted in anger. It had been years since anyone had contradicted her so boldly in public. She cast a disdainful look at Qiao Xian and sneered, "You don't even understand your own actions. It's because you're slow-witted, despite having read so many books. I am not obligated to teach you anything. You don't need to teach me anything either. Xiang, if you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc. Please let us know to report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 999, Apology. She stood up and declared, "Inform Madame Lin that I am taking my leave." Giving Qiao Xian a disdainful glance, Madame Qin made it clear that she had no desire to associate with her. Madame Lin happened to be in the kitchen, and Xiao Xiang nodded before leaving to deliver the message. The other madams became anxious, attempting to dissuade Madame Qin. "Madame Qin, please reconsider. It'll be so dull without you." "Yes, it's such a rare gathering. Isn't it enjoyable to chat and laugh together? Mrs. Xiao is still young and inexperienced. Madame Qin, you possess magnanimity. Please calm down." Mrs. Xiao turned towards Qiao Xian. Mrs. Xiao apologized to Madame Qin. Smugly, Mrs. Han chimed in, "Indeed, just apologize, and Madame Qin will forgive you. Don't you want to preserve the harmony of this gathering?" Mrs. Xiao and Mrs. Han, both envious of Xiao Yanduan's equal ranking with their husbands, were eager to seize this opportunity. The rest of the madams nodded in agreement, expecting Qiao Xian to offer an apology. It appeared as though Qiao Xian was the one in the wrong. In that moment, Madame Lin arrived, wearing a smile. "Mrs. Xiao, Madame Qin is a senior figure whom we should respect, isn't that right? Apologizing to Madame Qin would be the appropriate course of action. It would be regrettable if she were to leave." Qiao Xian felt a surge of disgust, as though she had swallowed a fly. Were these the wives of the Hanlin Academy? What were they thinking? She found herself being pressured to apologize, with even the host, Madame Lin, speaking up. Respecting the host was necessary, wasn't it? Qiao Xian began to make an assumption. If she were to apologize, it would imply that she was immature, unruly, and lacked understanding of what was appropriate. It would be seen as her first guest appearance resulting in offense, raising concerns about her morality. If they chose not to apologize, they would be perceived as ignorant and obstinate, unaware of what was good for them. Their husbands being Primus gave them a sense of arrogance and entitlement, making them unreasonable and disrespectful towards their seniors and even the host. In essence, whether she apologized or not, she would be labeled as a person of questionable character. Even Xiao Yunduan wouldn't be spared from that judgment. Qiao Xian struggled to contemplate her next move, but tears wouldn't come. She covered her face and sobbed. "What have I done wrong? I simply expressed that as wives, we shouldn't engage in idle gossip like market women. What harm would it cause our husbands? What's so wrong about that? Madame Zhou and Madame Han keep insisting I'm in the wrong, but I fail to understand why." She turned to Madame Lin, grasping her sleeves, and lamented, "Madame Lin, you are the judge. Tell me, am I wrong? If you dare to say I'm wrong and consult my husband about this, let it be known that I will come to your doorstep and beg for forgiveness." Everyone present. Some astute individuals began to feel a sense of caution. Mrs. Xiao was not someone to be taken lightly. It was no wonder even the Tian family had faced her wrath. They concluded that it would be best to steer clear of her in the future. Madame Qin pursed her lips, growing even more infuriated. "If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know to report so we can fix it as soon as possible." Chapter 1000, Exposure. Madame Lin was at a loss for words. Well, Qiao Xian didn't give her a chance to think. She tugged at her sleeves. "Mrs. Lin, am I wrong?" Madame Lin had no choice but to shake her head. "You are right, I knew Mrs. Lin is a very understanding person." Qiao Xian looked up at Mrs. Zhou and Mrs. Han. Mrs. Zhou, Mrs. Han, tell me, what did I do wrong? Should I apologize to you? What would be the point? Mrs. Zhou and Mrs. Han flushed with embarrassment. Madame Lin had just informed them of what Qiao Xian said, and now Qiao Xian was interrogating them. They couldn't counter Madame Lin's statement, and they had no choice but to remain silent. Annoyance began to well up within them towards Qiao Xian. As a couple, they felt even more humiliated in front of the gathered guests. They weren't as quick-witted or as audacious as Qiao Xian. Panic set in, leaving them dumbfounded and unable to utter a word, as beads of sweat formed on their foreheads. Madame Han snapped, her voice filled with anger. So many people have said that Mrs. Xiao is trying to drag us into her grudge. Qiao Xian almost burst into laughter, inwardly cursing at Madame Han's foolishness. She wasn't about to let go of this opportunity. She responded instantly, Mrs. Han, what are you talking about? I only heard the two of you speak. No one else said a word. Mrs. Han, please point it out. All eyes turned to Madame Han with disapproval. Madame Han was taken aback, realizing she had misspoken. Her face flushed with embarrassment, feeling deeply humiliated. You're up to no good. Madame Han exclaimed. Qiao Xian responded with curiosity, of course, I am up to no good. Mrs. Han, you spoke those words of your own accord, without any coercion from me. I am merely following your lead. If you don't wish to answer me, I will pretend I never heard anything. You are accusing me without any valid reason, and it's quite perplexing. Mrs. Han's eyes widened, her lips quivered, and her face flushed with a mix of anger and embarrassment. How delightful. The others couldn't bear the situation any longer. It had become incredibly embarrassing for Mrs. Han. If given the chance, she would have loved nothing more than to tear Mrs. Xiao apart. They all sighed inwardly, realizing that Mrs. Xiao was not someone to be trifled with. Editor Xiao was a Primus, and he couldn't be foolish enough to offend the Tian family just to protect his wife. Mrs. Xiao couldn't possibly be an idiot. Even Madame Qin grew weary of the situation. She had a sense that she couldn't afford to provoke this woman, so she abandoned the idea. It would be immensely embarrassing if her attempts to confront Qiao Xian backfired. Concerns about her husband's position and Qiao Xian's temper had made everyone yield to her demands in the past, and she was well aware of that fact. Now, they realized they had kicked a hornet's nest. Well, never mind, Madame Min forced a laugh and tried to appear relaxed. I believe it's just a misunderstanding. We are all friends here, and we will be spending a lot of time together in the future. We can discuss things calmly, there's no need to be so serious, right? A collective sigh of relief swept through the room, and everyone nodded with forced smiles. Madame Lin expressed her gratitude to Madame Min and smiled. It's entirely my fault as the host. I haven't served you properly, please forgive me. Let's have some more tea and continue our conversation. We'll have dinner soon, and we can enjoy a pleasant chat afterward. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know to report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1001, Famous. Everyone smiled and shifted the conversation to a different topic. Madame Lin instructed the maids to bring more tea and snacks, greeted everyone, and headed to the kitchen to check on the progress of the dishes. Madame Qin, who had intended to leave, was convinced to stay and return to her seat. Madame Han's face was still flushed with embarrassment, but she didn't want to leave on a sour note. It was her first invitation from her husband's wife, after all. Casting a sharp glance at Qiao Xian, she reluctantly sat back down. Even Mrs. Zhou felt a sense of unease. She made a silent promise to herself to never interfere in others' affairs again. Qiao Xian had gained a newfound reputation after this confrontation, and even Madame Qin couldn't help but view her in a different light. Qiao Xian carried herself with even more confidence than before. Eventually, a couple of madams exchanged pleasantries with her. Qiao Xian reciprocated the greetings. Many of those who had initially planned to ridicule Qiao Xian decided to drop the idea after witnessing her resilience. No one wanted to be embarrassed in return. 3 women bargaining in a market turned into a gathering of over 10 women engaged in lively conversation. Although their husbands held modest positions, and Madame Qin's husband was only ranked 5th, he possessed extensive knowledge about the noble families, princes, kings, and monarchs. Madame Qin was thrilled to engage in discussions on such topics. They shared stories about conflicts between concubines in the household, which young masters kept mistresses and clashed with their first wives. They delved into discussions about fashion, jewelry, cosmetics, and various hobbies. They also shared information about stores offering affordable items, expensive snacks, and the trickiest department stores to navigate. Qiao Xian was captivated by the gossip, despite not fully understanding the context. The sudden mention of the Empress Dowager's peony piqued her curiosity. One of the women continued, "I heard that the peony withered just a few days ago." The news spread like wildfire within the palace walls. The emperor's anger was so intense that he punished the eunuchs responsible for the imperial garden. He even issued a decree that anyone in charge of the garden would be buried with the peony if it died. The tension in the palace is palpable, and everyone is walking on eggshells, afraid of incurring the emperor's wrath. Gossip related to the royal family always held a special allure, and Madame Qin, too, was captivated by the story. "Is this really true? Are you certain?" "It must be true. My cousin has close ties with the 7th young mistress of Lord Jian's 3rd household, and she's the one who shared this information with me. She wouldn't spread false rumors." It does sound plausible. During the Empress Dowager's lifetime, she had a deep affection for peonies. The emperor himself personally planted a peony for her, symbolizing their mother-son relationship. The Empress Dowager personally cared for it while she was alive. Even after her passing, the emperor would visit the peony and reminisce about her. If the peony were to wither, the emperor would undoubtedly be infuriated. The women exchanged intrigued glances, engrossed in the tale of palace intrigue. They all sighed. Those gardeners in the imperial garden are so useless. They can't even take care of one flower. True. If they can't be saved, then the palace, just drop it. Right. So the gossip soon turned to the topic on which princess in the palace was favored and whether she would be selected next year. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know to report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1002, Protection. Qiao Xian was not in the mood to listen anymore. She was thinking about peony flowers. That was just gossip for others, but for Qiao Xian, it was a temptation that she could not give up. If the peony flowers were really so precious, and if she could save them, the emperor would definitely be very happy. Also, no one knew what would happen to the peony flowers in the future, so no one would dare offend her at all. What if she was harmed, and the peonies went wrong in the future, and the emperor could not find anyone to save them, then the culprit would definitely be investigated thoroughly. In that case, the culprit would definitely be doomed, when found out. That was totally a protecting amulet for herself. She and Xiao Yunduan had no one to rely on in the capital, and the Tian family hated them for no reason. If they had such a strong supporter, they would have nothing to worry about. The more Qiao Xian thought about this, the more excited she got. Of course, it was not easy to make a big deal out of this. If the treatment failed, it would be a disaster. But Qiao Xian still wanted to have a try. They had to take a huge risk to get the benefits. Qiao Xian did not care about the banquet anymore. Qiao Xian's relentless pursuit of information about the peony flowers paid off as the madam willingly shared more details. She couldn't help but be intrigued by Qiao Xian's genuine interest and straightforwardness. Meanwhile, Madame Lin and her two friends had initially planned to embarrass Qiao Xian during the banquet, but her unexpected confrontation had foiled their scheme. They were now apprehensive about getting involved further, fearing retaliation from Qiao Xian. In an attempt to undermine her, one of them had discreetly arranged for a plate of quail eggs, hoping to trick her. However, Qiao Xian's sharp senses enabled her to detect the potential trap, and she skillfully avoided it, leaving the others hesitant to make any further attempts. Despite the tense atmosphere earlier, the meal proceeded smoothly, and everyone enjoyed themselves. Once the guests departed, Madame Lin took stock of the presents received. To her surprise, none of them compared to the valuable gift presented by Qiao Xian. This mixture of happiness and annoyance stirred within Madame Lin as she pondered the implications of Qiao Xian's extravagant offering. It was customary for a first-time visitor to bring more gifts, but this particular gift was exceptionally valuable, leaving Madame Lin with conflicting emotions. They were relieved to have benefited from the gathering, but they also felt concerned about Qiao Xian's potential inability to explain her extravagant gift. However, a maid came up with a clever solution, suggesting that they assist Qiao Xian in promoting her status. Madame Lin found the idea quite brilliant and smiled approvingly. "You're quite clever. That's a wonderful suggestion." Many of the officials at the Hanlin courtyard were financially strained, with some even living in cramped shared housing. Each winter, they had to resort to pawning or borrowing money just to make ends meet. If word spread that Mrs. Xiao was wealthy and generous, it would pique the interest of these officials, who would undoubtedly seek financial assistance from her. Considering that editor Xiao was new to the area and had incurred the displeasure of the Tian family, maintaining a low profile was crucial. However, if he ever found himself in need of being asked to loan out money to those officials, he would definitely have to do so. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know to report so we can fix it as soon as possible. All the court officials, princes, and consorts are on edge, fearing that the emperor will unleash his anger upon them for no apparent reason. Right now, others can't wait to keep their distance, and yet you dare to approach him. Not even 99%. Have you considered the consequences if he fails? Have you thought about what the emperor might do? Failure could cost him his life. His words resonated with Qiao Xian, leaving her feeling both hesitant and moved. However, she couldn't bring herself to give up. "My love, this opportunity is like a rare gift bestowed upon us. If we let it slip away, we will surely regret it. Can't you trust me just this once? If I didn't have confidence, why would I be willing to take such a risk? I must go. Help me find a way to achieve a compromise, but please don't outright reject me. Don't you realize that Madame Lin is hosting an event in my honor today? Those wives of Hanlin scholars and low-ranking officials are intentionally ridiculing and isolating me. I simply cannot tolerate this humiliation." Xiao Yunduan furrowed his brow. "What did they do?" Qiao Xian smiled. "It's nothing more than petty and somewhat amusing. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know to report so we can fix it as soon as possible." Chapter 1004 A Way. There will be numerous future gatherings, both large and small. I can't simply avoid attending them. I have to take action. Can you truly bear to let me miss out on such a wonderful opportunity? My love, please help me. Xiao Yunduan remained silent, contemplating his options. What was he going to do? He regarded Qiao Xian with suspicion, questioning whether her claims of being bullied were true. Why hadn't he realized it earlier? Nevertheless, when he heard her plea, he couldn't find the strength to refute her or bear to do so. Xiao Yunduan let out a sigh. Qiao Xian understood that he had agreed. She immediately brightened up. My love, you're the best. I knew you would assist me. Xiao Yunduan. Tell me honestly, how confident are you? He asked. Qiao Xian's smile faded, and she responded earnestly, I can't say for certain, but I'm at least 80% confident. An 80% chance was almost as good as a guarantee. Xiao Yunduan found himself torn between amusement and frustration. After a brief pause, he suggested, let's visit the Crown Prince at the East Palace tomorrow. The Crown Prince is known for his benevolence. Let's hear his thoughts first. Alright, let's go and seek the Crown Prince's support. Qiao Xian's remaining worries vanished. Qiao Xian harbored no concerns about her ability to save the peony. As long as the flower remained alive, she believed she had the power to revive it and enhance its vibrancy. It was Xiao Yunduan who felt breathless with anxiety. After all, the events had unfolded within the palace walls. How could they possibly know what was happening? However, if the Crown Prince was willing to provide insight, then there was hope. The Crown Prince would surely be aware if the peony bush was still alive. Qiao Xian had heard of the prince's benevolent nature and hoped that he would grant Xiao Yunduan, a mere Primus, some face. With the Crown Prince's assistance, Qiao Xian would be secure. But if the Crown Prince declined, Qiao Xian would relinquish her pursuit. The following day, Xiao Yunduan sought leave from the Hanlin Academy, and together they made their way to the East Palace to meet the prince. Although referred to as the East Palace of the Great Qin Empire, it was, in fact, a separate mansion adjacent to the palace, not within its confines. Not just anyone could enter the Crown Prince's Eastern Palace. However, Xiao Yunduan's reputation was too prominent. Despite being only a 7th-grade editor at the Hanlin Academy, he was the top scorer. He had even confronted the Tian family head-on, and the emperor had intervened on his behalf. It wasn't just the Eastern Palace. The more influential a residence, the more meticulous they were in selecting their gatekeepers. The position of a gatekeeper was not one that could be entrusted to a mere servant. A single offense, mistake, or unauthorized entry could potentially lead to a disastrous outcome. Upon Xiao Yunduan's introduction, a polite greeting came from the gatehouse. Coincidentally, the Crown Prince happened to be present within the mansion, and someone hurriedly went to inform him. The current Crown Prince was not the offspring of the current Empress Qi. The biological son of Empress Qi was the 3rd prince, who had recently turned 30. The Crown Prince's biological mother was the late Emperor Xian of Qi's Empress Li. Having held power for a considerable duration, Emperor Xian of Qi's reign saw the Crown Prince reach the age of 43 this year. He was known for his integrity, refinement, and gentleness, earning him a reputation as a virtuous individual among the people. The court officials were indeed respectful and deferential toward him. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know to report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1005 at the East Palace. Upon learning that the renowned editor Xiao from the Hanlin Academy had arrived with his wife, the Crown Prince was taken aback. After a moment of contemplation, he instructed them to be brought in. During an imperial court session, his father had mentioned that if editor Xiao encountered any difficulties, he could seek assistance from him or the princes. Since they were here, it would be inappropriate not to meet them. Qiao Xian and Xiao Yunduan followed a young eunuch through a long corridor and several courtyards, finally arriving at a small, exquisitely adorned parlor. Seated on the main chair in the hall was a middle-aged man donning a ginger-colored round dragon collar robe. His eyes exuded gentleness, elegance, and nobility. It was evident that he was the crown prince. Xiao Yunduan promptly approached and performed a kowtow. The crown prince smiled and raised his hand in a gentle gesture. "Rise. Have a seat." "Thank you, crown prince." Xiao Yunduan stood up and attempted to assist Xiao Xian in getting up. However, when he turned to her, he was taken aback. Xiao Xian seemed lost in her thoughts. Xiao Yunduan grasped her arms and whispered, "Wife, wife." He called her multiple times, gradually raising his voice. Eventually, Xiao Xian snapped out of her reverie. Startled, she apologized, "Please forgive me." "It's all right, rise." The crown prince remained affable and harbored no ill feelings. The crown prince held a simple understanding of the situation. He considered that Miss Qiao was a sheltered woman who had not experienced much of the world. It was natural for her to feel nervous and lose her composure upon seeing him. Being a magnanimous and benevolent individual, the crown prince harbored no blame for such a minor incident. Xiao Xian expressed her gratitude, yet her legs remained weak. Xiao Yunduan, filled with suspicion, believed that her unease was due to nervousness, much like what the crown prince had assumed. He cast a concerned gaze her way and helped her find a seat. The crown prince observed the entire scene and inwardly sighed. His fondness for Xiao Yunduan grew stronger. Xiao Yunduan displayed loyalty and did not forsake his wife. It appeared that he was not merely seeking fame, he genuinely cherished his wife. Sincerity or not, certain details could not be feigned. Unbeknownst to both of them, as Xiao Xian knelt to greet the crown prince, her mind buzzed with fleeting images of him. Perhaps due to the prince's esteemed status, those images were not as distinct as the other two, but Xiao Xian was certain they depicted the crown prince. Furthermore, if all of this was indeed true, the crown prince did not ascend to the throne in the end. It appeared that his fate had taken a turn for the worse. Xiao Xian felt a pang of regret. Her heart skipped a beat upon witnessing that scene, and then the images swiftly vanished. If only she had known earlier, she would have exercised control over her thoughts and observed more. However, what she had glimpsed was sufficient to shock Xiao Xian and weaken her legs. She compelled herself to push those thoughts aside and regain her focus. Fortunately, the crown prince did not hold them accountable for the momentary lapse. Yet, the weight of the crown prince's grim fate weighed heavily on Xiao Xian, causing her to feel a sense of suffocation. The crown prince gazed at the couple and inquired with a gentle smile, "Editor Xiao, why have you come to see me?" Xiao Yunduan and Xiao Xian exchanged glances and were about to rise and respond when the crown prince interrupted, "Please remain seated. There is no need for formalities in my presence." "Yes, thank you, Your Highness." "Your Highness, I heard that there has been an issue with the peony flowers in the palace. It is quite coincidental. My wife possesses expertise in cultivating and preserving flowers and trees. Perhaps she could find a way to save them. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know to report so we can fix it as soon as possible." Chapter 1006, I'm willing to try. Xiao Xian bowed respectfully and stated, "Your Highness, I am willing to make an attempt." Upon hearing Xiao Yunduan mention the peony flowers in the palace, a shadow crossed the crown prince's eyes. Although Xiao Yunduan referred to them as peony flowers, it was evident to everyone what specific peony flowers he was alluding to. The crown prince harbored no desire for the royal family's affairs to become public knowledge. A tinge of disgust toward Xiao Yunduan flickered within him. However, the crown prince's demeanor changed upon hearing Xiao Yunduan's words. "What did you just say?" His brows furrowed, a mix of anger and amusement dancing in his eyes. "It's all right if you say such things in front of me, but let's pretend I didn't hear it." Remember not to utter a word about this outside. Matters concerning the royal family should not be taken lightly, understood? Qiao Xian spoke up, Your Highness, I am willing to attempt it. The crown prince fell silent, studying Qiao Xian intently before speaking with seriousness. Do you comprehend the gravity of what you are suggesting? Even the most skilled and experienced gardener in the palace has been unable to tend to the flowers. Mrs. Xiao, where do you find the confidence to believe that you surpass them? Qiao Xian and Xiao Yunduan felt a sense of relief. The crown prince possessed a benevolent heart, as evidenced by his persuasive words. If I may be so bold, may I inquire, Your Highness, whether the peony flower is completely lifeless? Qiao Xian asked. The crown prince furrowed his brow, giving her a brief glance before responding, Not yet, but the situation is far from favorable. That is good, Qiao Xian responded. As long as it has not completely withered, I am willing to give it a try. During my time in the province, I managed to revive an orchid for the Xia family, so I do have some experience in this field. Xiao Yunduan provided further explanation to the crown prince. Understanding dawned upon the crown prince, and he nodded. He was aware of the Xia family as well. The eldest son of the Xia family was a remarkable individual, and the crown prince held great admiration for him. With this knowledge, the crown prince's confidence in Qiao Xian grew. After contemplating for a moment, he spoke, How about this? Tomorrow, or perhaps even today. Do you require any preparations? Qiao Xian hurriedly replied, I am prepared and ready. We should not delay any further. The crown prince nodded, placing even greater trust in her. In that case, I will have the crown princess consort accompany you to the palace today. You may first inspect the flowers. If you succeed in curing them, the crown princess consort will report it to father, and you can openly attend to them. However, if it proves futile, do not utter a word and simply leave the palace with the crown princess consort. Touched by the crown prince's consideration, Qiao Xian and Xiao Yunduan stood up and expressed their heartfelt gratitude. Deeply troubled by what she had witnessed, Qiao Xian couldn't help but feel a sense of unease about the future. She pondered whether paying more attention to those visions could have the power to alter the course of events. Following the crown prince's instructions, Princess Consort Fu did not object. She instructed Qiao Xian to disguise herself as a maid and accompany her. Together, they made their way to the imperial court. The news of the peony flower predicament had caused quite a stir in the court. It was only natural for the crown prince and princess consort to show concern for the flowers, thus justifying Princess Consort's visit to the court. Upon entering the court, Princess Consort sent her maid to greet the queen and informed her of their intention to visit the flowers in the imperial garden. Leading Qiao Xian, they proceeded towards the imperial garden. Within the imperial garden, a vast expanse of peonies flourished, featuring a variety of exquisite and rare blooms. The cluster of flowers held immense value and was even enclosed by white jade railings. Carefully tended to by dedicated gardeners, every precaution was taken to prevent any mishaps. The winter frames provided warmth, while the summer shade offered a cool respite. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know to report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1007, She Trusts Princess Consort. Unexpectedly, an unforeseen incident occurred, adding to the already tense situation. At this moment, not only was the entire peony garden off limits, but the entire imperial garden was deemed a forbidden area. The emperor was seething with anger. Who would dare to venture into the imperial garden at such a time? Did they have a death wish? Only the queen, noble consort May, princess consort, and a select few noble family members dared to display their concern for the peonies in the imperial garden. No one else possessed the qualifications to show such concern. Accompanied by her attendants, Princess Consort arrived, and the two eunuchs who appeared visibly distressed immediately prostrated themselves, bowing deeply. Acknowledging their presence, Princess Consort turned to Dao seeking and inquired, "Where is Qin gone?" Respectfully, the young eunuch replied, "Princess Consort, Master was here just moments ago." He went back to retrieve something. The hearts of the two young eunuchs were heavy, yet they dared not reveal their sorrowful expressions in front of their master. They kept their heads slightly lowered. The gardeners responsible for tending to the flowers and trees in the imperial garden had exhausted every possible method, but the flowers continued to wither day by day. They were unsure how much longer they could persevere. Within the Qianqing Palace, a group of individuals arrived each day to apply pressure and conduct interrogations. However, it was a flower, a living entity incapable of speech. How could it convey discomfort? What could a flower do? If it couldn't be healed, then it couldn't. However, the stakes were high. If they couldn't find a solution, none of them would be able to escape the consequences. Princess Consort nodded and casually found a pretext to dismiss the others, then turned to Qiao Xian and asked, "Take a look and see if there's a remedy." Qiao Xian could sense that the peony flowers still clung to life. Although their condition was dire, there was still hope. Qiao Xian carefully inspected the roots, adopting a professional demeanor. In truth, she couldn't be certain if it was due to pests, soil issues, or some other factor. But as long as the plant itself was resilient and provided with sufficient soil, water, and sunlight, there should be no insurmountable problem. After pretending to examine for about 15 minutes, Qiao Xian rose to her feet and addressed Princess Consort with a confident smile. "Princess Consort, I can indeed nurse these peony flowers back to health. However, time is of the essence. If we delay for another 4 days, even divine intervention may prove futile." Princess Consort's eyes lit up, and she cautioned, "Are you absolutely sure, Miss Qiao? Think carefully before answering. If you succeed in saving the flowers, even without my intervention, you will be greatly rewarded by the Emperor. However, if anything goes awry, not only will you be in trouble, but Editor Xiao and I will also face dire consequences." Qiao Xian's confidence shone through her smile. "Thank you for your concern, Princess Consort. Rest assured, I am fully confident in my abilities." "Very well." Princess Consort sighed with relief and nodded. "Then come with me to meet the Queen." "Yes, Princess Consort." Empress Qi felt a surge of joy upon hearing the news. Although she didn't fully trust Qiao Xian, she had faith in Princess Consort's judgment. If Princess Consort had brought Qiao Xian to her, it meant she had confidence in her abilities. Accompanied by Princess Consort, Qiao Xian was personally taken to Emperor Xian, where she was instructed to begin her treatment. News of this event quickly spread throughout the palace, capturing the attention of numerous eyes fixated on the peony garden within the imperial grounds. The crown prince had always been dependable, and this brought a sense of relief to the concubines, princesses, as well as the palace maids and eunuchs, who secretly awaited a favorable outcome before expressing their elation. The emperor's foul mood had cast a pall over everyone, inducing trepidation. Finally, the clouds were starting to disperse. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know to report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1008, Treatment. Qinan and the others formed a circle around Qiao Xian, anxiously awaiting her intervention to save the flower. Aware that they might be attempting to steal her knowledge, Qiao Xian made it clear that she would only share the maintenance method without guaranteeing its long-term effectiveness. Flower nurturing, like any other craft, required personal exploration and cultivation. It couldn't be easily taught. Each individual had to rely on their own efforts to comprehend it. Qiao Xian possessed limited knowledge herself, so she refrained from providing extensive instruction. They wouldn't be able to replicate it on their own. It wasn't that she wanted to withhold information, but rather, she had to do so. Sooner or later, the Queen and Princess Consort would issue the order. After all, who could assure that the flowers would remain in good health in the future? What if something unfortunate happened again? Qiao Xian couldn't be expected to attend to them within the court indefinitely. Apparently, Qinan and the others understood this as well. Upon hearing Qiao Xian's words, they wore expressions of naturally, without a hint of gratitude. Contrarily, they felt a tinge of unease. They weren't certain whether they hoped for Qiao Xian's success or failure in saving the flowers. A conflicted sentiment arose, leaning towards preserving the flowers. Although doing so would highlight their incompetence, at least their positions and livelihoods would be preserved. If Mrs. Xiao failed to save the flowers, they would all face dire consequences. Qiao Xian directed someone to dig out the flowers, replacing the soil and trimming the roots. After 2 hours of exposure to sunlight, she removed all the withered parts and replanted them. Then she watered them and arranged for a shade to be built. Following a series of procedures, evening approached. "Is that all?" Qinan and the others exchanged bewildered glances. Qiao Xian nodded confidently. "Tomorrow, you'll see an improvement. Don't worry." The group remained speechless. Concerned, the Empress dispatched her trusted attendants from the palace to guard the imperial garden. Observing Qiao Xian's dramatic actions, Princess Consort couldn't help but inquire anxiously as they left the court. Qiao Xian offered a reassuring smile. "Princess Consort, please don't worry. I have great confidence in this." With a smile, Princess Consort sighed, "Well, we have no choice but to trust you." News of Qiao Xian's presence in court to treat the flowers quickly spread among the princes, nobles, and upper class of the capital. Even before she had left the palace, word had already reached various ears. Doubt pervaded the minds of many. Some even secretly mocked editor Xiao for involving his wife in such matters. Could it be that his wife's skills in tending to flowers and plants surpassed those of the specialized palace gardeners? It would be comical if she overstepped her abilities. Madame Tian felt even more disgusted. Madame Lin's attempt to teach Qiao Xian a lesson backfired. Instead, it was Qiao Xian who reprimanded the entire room, leaving Madame Tian fuming with anger. Seething with resentment, Mrs. Tian contemplated how she could humiliate Qiao Xian, when suddenly she heard the news. Madame Tian sneered, unable to contain her derision. She ridiculed Officer Tian, saying, "This woman truly has no sense of her own status. She can't even rise above her station. Yet, she dares to engage in such menial tasks, going to the palace to snatch work from the eunuchs. How utterly laughable." Officer Tian glanced at her, remaining silent. "If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know to report so we can fix it as soon as possible." Chapter 1009 Easy. Aware of his wife's anger and complaints, Officer Tian couldn't help but caution her, "Don't speak such nonsense in public." Madame Tian's expression darkened at his words. After a brief pause, she snorted and sneered, "There are so many inept individuals out there. I refuse to believe she can handle it well. If she messes up, it will be quite the spectacle." Once Qiao Xian finally emerged from the court, Xiao Yunduan, who had been waiting outside, heaved a sigh of relief. They exchanged glances, and Qiao Xian nodded with a smile, instantly relieving Xiao Yunduan's anxiety. "Is it a success?" he asked incredulously. Xiao Yunduan couldn't help but question the sheer magical turn of events. Many had been at a loss when faced with the same problem, and even the crown prince had treated it as a major issue. Yet, his wife had resolved it effortlessly, without uttering a word. Too easy. He couldn't flaunt it so arrogantly, knowing how much others would struggle. Qiao Xian smiled. Different professions exist in different worlds. While others might not understand, you know me. Their eyes met, and Xiao Yunduan burst into laughter. Indeed, how could he not know? His wife had a green thumb. Back at home, crops, fruit trees, and even the vegetables in their garden thrived under her care. She had made significant contributions. The peony flowers in the palace were merely another type of plant. What couldn't she achieve? He had to believe in her. You must be exhausted from your time in the palace today. Let's go back and rest early. All right. 2 days later, the rewards from the palace arrived. The Empress attendants immediately noticed the rejuvenation of the flowers. The once yellowing leaves were no longer deteriorating. Instead, fresh new foliage sprouted forth, and the stems exhibited a healthy fading of color. Furthermore, the flowers emitted a different aura than before. Standing before them, one could sense the dense vitality pulsating within. Though it hadn't fully regained its former splendor, a unanimous thought echoed in everyone's hearts: this peony bush is on the road to recovery. Emperor Xian of Qi was overjoyed. He commended the accomplishment several times over. This peony bush held the deepest connection and yearning between him and his late mother. Even after all these years, he never ceased to think of her. It was his mother's most beloved peony flower, which she had personally nurtured. Each year, he would accompany her in admiring its blossoms. If it were to perish just like that, the void in his heart would never be filled. Officer Xiao is truly the exceptional individual I believed him to be. I did not misjudge him. I never anticipated his wife to possess such remarkable talent. I must bestow upon them generous rewards. Empress Qi's smile widened. When Princess Consort brought Miss Qiao to see me that day, I noticed her elegance and grace. She displayed no trace of fear and possessed a temperament that rivals that of a true noblewoman. Who could have imagined her remarkable capabilities? Women often indulge in cosmetics, pets, and flowers, but finding someone like Miss Qiao is rare indeed. The emperor recollected his encounter with Qiao Xian the other day. While he hadn't paid much attention to her at the time, he was not one to shy away from recognizing merit. With a nod and a smile, he remarked, "Editor Xiao, you have good taste." Empress Qi's smile grew even brighter. Miss Qiao healed the flowers, bringing joy to the emperor's heart and mind. I wish to reward her as well. Emperor Xian of Qi burst into laughter. You should give the rewards as well. It is a reflection of your filial piety. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know to report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 10:10 Reward. The flower held immense sentimental value for the former Empress Dowager, and Emperor Xian of Qi's recognition was well placed. Empress Qi playfully teased him, bringing an even greater smile to the emperor's face. Soon, the rewards arrived at the Xiao family's residence. They received 20 bolts of exquisite brocade, 300 liang of gold, and a pair of rui scepters adorned with gold and jade. The emperor's rewards were typically modest, making it quite exceptional for him to bestow such lavish gifts upon foreign ministers. Xiao Yunduan and Qiao Xian expressed their gratitude with kowtows and accepted the gifts humbly. Shortly after, rewards from the empress, noble consort Mei, consort De, and concubine Wan also arrived. The empress presented them with a complete set of magnolia-patterned clothing embellished with pearls, along with 2 handcrafted palace fans. Noble consort Mei gifted them a pair of jade bracelets and pearl earrings. The other concubines contributed with various pieces of jewelry or playful trinkets. As the Empress and the imperial consort had given their rewards, the other concubines naturally followed suit. Qiao Xian and Xiao Yunduan received a multitude of valuable rewards. With these precious pearls and vibrant embroideries, they were set for a lifetime. In any future banquets or gatherings, Qiao Xian would surely be the envy of all. Even the residences of many marquises and earls, who were already in decline, paled in comparison to the splendor and dignity they now possessed. Initially, the knowledge about the flowers was limited, but now the news had truly spread far and wide. Upon seeing Xiao Yunduan, the Hanlin Academy workers approached him, offering their congratulations with folded hands and beaming smiles. Regardless of their personal thoughts, they all wore expressions of joy and camaraderie. Xiao Yunduan's emotions were not complex. Comparing his wife to theirs, the difference was stark. Was it because he held the esteemed position of Primus that his wife possessed such remarkable abilities? TSK, now they understood why editor Xiao would rather face the Tian family's wrath than divorce his wife. His wife had made such a monumental contribution. Who would dare to provoke her? With the emperor's generous rewards, as well as those from the empress, other princesses, and the crown prince, the 300 taels of gold alone would allow editor Xiao and his wife to live a luxurious life in the capital for several years. The scholars from the Hanlin Academy were known for their modest means. But look at editor Xiao now. Madame Lin and the others who had gathered that day were feeling dejected, envious, and resentful. Qiao Xian was an audacious woman who seemed to disregard the rules. How could she be so fortunate? It was exasperating. Particularly the lady who had shared the information about the 8 trigrams of peony flowers in the court. Qiao Xian must have heard the news from her when she went to the court the next day. And there she was, reaping all the credit without saying a word. The more she dwelled on it, the more she seethed with indignation. She believed she deserved a portion of the credit no matter what. Unable to contain herself, she confided in her husband. He, too, felt envious and furious. He couldn't help but admonish her, "Don't speak of this matter outside anymore. The ancients were right when they said the more you talk, the more mistakes you make." If that weren't the case, he wouldn't allow others to benefit unjustly. That editor Xiao had grown so well respected that even the chancellor regarded him in a different light. Who among the officers would dare to provoke him? Especially Qiao Hongxi, who would actively avoid him whenever they crossed paths. The lady was also filled with frustration, so she couldn't resist the temptation to visit the Xiao family's mansion and direct some biting remarks at Qiao Xian. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know to report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 10-11, Luck. She was insinuating that without her, Qiao Xian would have been unaware of this information and wouldn't have made any contribution. Qiao Xian found himself both irritated and entertained. He hadn't intentionally sought this information from her, nor had she purposely shared it with him. She was merely flaunting her knowledge and treating it as gossip. The reason he paid attention was that the person who uttered those words didn't mean them, but the person who overheard them did. Furthermore, she would have to rely on her own abilities to make significant contributions. Moreover, she would be taking a substantial risk. If he succeeded, she would receive recognition for her valuable assistance. However, if she failed, Xiao Yunduan's future would be destroyed, and she might even lose her life. She couldn't simply assume it was a stroke of luck. Ultimately, in this person's eyes, it was all because of her help that he succeeded. Of course, Qiao Xian didn't deny that he received the information from her. Since she had approached him, he could offer her some benefits. However, she shouldn't feel indebted to him. Qiao Xian smiled and remarked, "I was merely fortunate. In truth, I wasn't certain before entering the court. I simply want to inquire, if I had heard the news from my sister and informed her that I could cure the peony in the court, would you have been willing to accompany me to the East Palace?" The madam was rendered speechless in an instant. Although she wanted to say yes, she couldn't bring herself to do so under Qiao Xian's intense gaze. She was absolutely certain that if Qiao Xian had approached her with the same proposition, she would have rejected it without hesitation. What a ridiculous idea! Who would dare to take such a risk? It would be all well and good if she succeeded, but what if she failed? How could she be certain of Qiao Xian's abilities? What if there was no solution? Wouldn't he be implicated because of her? This was definitely insufficient. Qiao Xian smiled knowingly. The lattice face turned crimson, and she felt a tinge of embarrassment creeping in. Qiao Xian's words made her feel slightly ashamed. Qiao Xian paused her actions and spoke with a smile. "The other day, I consulted my husband about this matter, and he informed me. That's why I dared to come to the East Palace to meet the Crown Prince. However, I must acknowledge that I initially received the news from you. Otherwise, I might not have come across it from other sources. I should express my gratitude to you, sister." The madam was left speechless, unable to refute her words. Not many individuals were privy to this information, but it wasn't entirely undisclosed. Qiao Xian could have learned about it from another source. Consequently, all the resentment and the sense of being owed by Qiao Xian, along with the obligation to express gratitude and make amends, vanished. Upon hearing Qiao Xian's words, she felt a sense of relief. Besides being delighted, she was also grateful. With a smile, she said, "Sister, you are truly kind." Qiao Xian modestly smiled and insisted that she stay for lunch, presenting her with a generous gift. The lady bid farewell happily and headed home. Once they arrived, they eagerly opened the gift box. Inside, they discovered 2 exquisite garments and a banknote worth 100 liang. This unexpected windfall brought immense joy to her heart. She couldn't help but inwardly sigh. Miss Qiao was no ordinary woman. With just a few words, she had rendered her speechless and granted her enough respect to prevent any animosity. Well, let bygones be bygones. In the future, she should strive to grow closer to her. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know to report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 10-12, It's All for Me. She had a strong intuition that getting closer to Qiao Xian would be beneficial, not a loss. As for the Qiao family and the Tian family, definitely not. Qiao Xian didn't need to ponder over it to realize that. They weren't the only ones. Even noble Consort Mei, residing in the palace, felt a sense of ennui. Tian Shanshan was her own niece, and witnessing her endure such grievances pained her deeply. Initially, she believed that Qiao Xian had taken the initiative to marry Xiao Yunduan, resulting in Tian Shanshan losing her opportunity. In her eyes, Qiao Xian wasn't worthy enough to even lace her shoes. However, she never anticipated that Qiao Xian would be praised and rewarded by the emperor and the queen. Listening to the empress' words, claiming that Qiao Xian possessed dignity and magnanimity, and was in no way inferior to a legitimate daughter. What did she mean by that? Wasn't she openly and covertly targeting Shanshan? To put it bluntly, they were indirectly talking about her. Nevertheless, since the empress had rewarded Qiao Xian, noble Consort Mei had no choice but to begrudgingly follow suit. The mere thought of it left her feeling incredibly stifled. Noble Consort Mei couldn't let it slide. She urged her son, the 4th prince, to teach Miss Qiao a lesson, no matter what. Xiao Yunduan didn't have to lift a finger, but Miss Qiao couldn't escape so easily. Otherwise, Shanshan would be left in utter misery. Moreover, by dealing with Qiao Xian, it would be a way to slap the queen's face. Contemplating the queen's remarks about Qiao Xian, noble consort Mei couldn't help but feel a surge of anger. The fourth prince was also growing restless. Editor Xiao had escorted Ms. Qiao to meet the crown prince. Over the past couple of days, his father had been heaping praises upon the crown prince, emphasizing his kindness and filial piety, which had left an impression on the fourth prince. He had clearly sent someone to establish a connection with Editor Xiao and extend goodwill, but Editor Xiao feigned ignorance and rejected his father's kind intentions. Instead, he turned around and sought favor with the crown prince. It was truly despicable. Given the circumstances, the fourth prince didn't mind teaching Editor Xiao a lesson. Weren't they on the verge of leaving the capital to return to their hometown for ancestral rites? Once they departed, there would be ample opportunities. Soon enough, Hanlin Academy withdrew Xiao Yunduan from his position and instructed him to return to his hometown for the ancestral rites. That was precisely what Xiao Yunduan desired, so he departed from the capital alongside Qiao Xian. As the Primus, he was returning to his hometown to pay respects to his ancestors. Following the established protocol, the Ministry of Rites arranged for an escort of honor, horses, and guards. A grand procession of over 30 individuals embarked on their journey. The Ministry of Rites had provided for the expenses of the trip, relieving Qiao Xian and Xiao Yunduan of any concerns. However, the allocation provided by the Ministry of Rites was just sufficient, leaving no room for surplus. On the day of their departure from the capital, Qiao Xian handed 500 liang to the manager responsible for the logistics, instructing him to enhance the quality of everyone's meals and accommodations throughout the journey. Additionally, each individual received a red packet containing 10 liang. Initially, the members of the escort team had reservations about undertaking such a demanding task. However, now they expressed their gratitude wholeheartedly. They took great pride in escorting the Primus back to his hometown for ancestral rites. Although the imperial court had dispatched personnel to accompany them, it was unlikely that any bandits or troublemakers would dare to rob or cause trouble along the way, unless they had a death wish. Everyone had absolute confidence in their safety. Any individual foolish enough to lay a hand on the Primus or the officials from the imperial court was effectively signing their own death warrant. However, Qiao Xian remained vigilant and cautious. Whenever they traversed through remote regions, she would employ her heightened senses to scan the surroundings within a radius of 500 or 600 meters. She also conducted periodic checks of their surroundings. For Qiao Xian, it was merely a reflex that occurred whenever the thought crossed her mind. It was not a futile effort. Developing such a subconscious habit proved beneficial and provided a sense of security. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know to report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1013. Actually, it's all like this. All the precautions and vigilance proved to be worthwhile. To Qiao Xian's surprise, one day while passing through a narrow canyon after entering the Jing state, she encountered individuals with malicious intent. Behind a mountain rock, dozens of individuals lay in wait, their faces concealed by masks. They donned worn-out combat attire, with some wearing tattered head coverings and others having disheveled hair and dirt-streaked foreheads. Their appearances were reminiscent of a group of mountain bandits. However, that was far from the truth. Qiao Xian overheard their conversations, and with each passing moment, her heart sank deeper and her anger intensified. They weren't genuine bandits, instead, they were trusted guards dispatched by the fourth prince. Their purpose was to exact revenge for Tian Shanshan. At that moment, Qiao Xian recollected that the fourth prince was elder Miss Tian's cousin. It was only natural for a cousin to stand up for their king. Yet, it was the Tian family who had initiated the conflict. And now, they sought to engage in further violence, bloodshed, and injustice. While not everything in this world could be reasoned with, this was an outrageous act. Listening to their jests and boasts, it became apparent that their intention was to rob and harm Xiao Yunduan, both in terms of his wealth and his well-being. They decided to lead Qiao Xian away, leaving tracks for them to follow. They would allow them to chase after her, buying enough time for Xiao Yunduan and the others to come to her rescue. But she couldn't make it too easy for them. They would pretend to put up a struggle for Qiao Xian, as if she were no match for her assailants. This would give her comrades the opportunity to save her. However, she couldn't emerge unscathed. Her clothes had to be torn, her hair disheveled, and one shoe missing for added authenticity. As the group continued their crude banter, their obscene remarks growing more repulsive, Qiao Xian's anger intensified. Despicable, vile, treacherous, and wicked. These people were truly despicable, and the fourth prince was no exception. Qiao Xian activated her powers, manipulating the vines to dislodge rocks and soil from the cliff above. As the dozens of individuals reveled in their conversation, saliva flying, a sudden cascade of rocks startled them. They screamed in terror, scattering in all directions, their initial enthusiasm replaced by panic. "Oh! Let's move away. It's dangerous, hurry up." Qiao Xian sneered silently. "Leaving? Never." There was a price to pay for one's foul mouth. Qiao Xian activated her superpower again, and the vines around them moved nimbly, tripping all of them and making them scream. Chapter 10:14, Embarrassed. Since that was the situation, they decided to consummate their marriage. While they were still in the capital, Xiao Yunduan asked Qiao Xian when they would consummate their marriage. Qiao Xian was taken aback and nearly fled in fear. She didn't want to escape, but Xiao Yunduan caught up to her swiftly. Despite his seemingly gentle demeanor, he gradually pressured her without giving her any room for ambiguity. Her face turned red, and she felt anxious. Eventually, she reluctantly nodded in agreement, but a consummation of their marriage was not appropriate within the capital's confines. The bustling city demanded their attention with numerous responsibilities. Xiao Yunduan had to remain vigilant every day, unable to find peace. It was better to postpone such a matter. Moreover, she wasn't truly prepared for it. Xiao Yunduan was well aware of this, but if he didn't push her, he might have remained single for the rest of his life. After returning to Shouting Village, he would wait. He had waited patiently for so long, waiting for a little over a month wouldn't make a difference. He had done everything he could, and she had no choice but to agree. Setting aside everything else, how could she be so shameless? Therefore, since their departure from the capital and passing through the state of Jing, as they drew closer to their hometown, Xiao Yunduan would gaze at Qiao Xian with tenderness and a smile, causing her to feel guilty and uneasy. She wished she could pretend not to understand the meaning behind his gaze. Unfortunately, she couldn't. She understood it in an instant. Most importantly, he knew that she understood his intentions at a glance. As they drew closer, Qiao Xian grew increasingly flustered. Xiao Yunduan found amusement inwardly but maintained a composed demeanor, as if nothing had happened. Observing this, Qiao Xian became even more nervous. Since it was still early, Xiao Yunduan suggested they take a stroll together and have dinner outside before returning to the inn. Coincidentally, they nearly ran into County Magistrate Qiao and Madame Qiao, who were on their way to the capital. As County Magistrate Qiao's entourage passed by, they began searching for an inn to stay at. Sensing their presence, Xiao Yunduan and Qiao Xian quickly hid, wanting to avoid meeting County Magistrate Qiao's family at this time. When Qiao Xian noticed their family entering a medium-sized inn not far away, she couldn't help but feel a twinge of excitement. I really want to follow them. Most importantly, concubine Xing was not faring well. Dealing with that woman was no easy task, and witnessing her confrontations with Madame Qiao would certainly be interesting. Xiao Yunduan smiled. It's not very convenient. Just endure it for a while. We'll see them in the capital. True. Imagining the reactions of County Magistrate Qiao and Madame Qiao upon learning that the Qiao family had severed ties with them, they couldn't help but exchange smiles. Especially after learning how the emperor protected Xiao Yunduan and Qiao Xian, praising them for their contributions to the empire. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know to report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 10-15, So Angry. Her father, who was solely focused on climbing the ranks and driven by greed, must have been seething with anger. Wait, the news of Xiao Yunduan's promotion to intermediate Primus must have spread like wildfire, right? Her despicable father and Madame Qiao must have been filled with anxiety upon hearing the news. Indeed, that was exactly the case. County Magistrate Qiao had no knowledge of the misdeeds committed by his mother and two brothers. However, when news of Xiao Yunduan's promotion reached the county, he couldn't contain his excitement, sporting a constant smile. With concubine Xing's praises about Xiao Yunduan, County Magistrate Qiao's joy knew no bounds. This was his son-in-law. If his son-in-law became an intermediate Primus, he would feel immense pride. Moreover, the timing was perfect for his return to the capital. As the father of an esteemed Primus, he could seize this opportunity to gain more attention, forge valuable connections, and perhaps even stumble upon unexpected benefits. Fueled by concubine Xing's persuasion, County Magistrate Qiao made up his mind to return to the capital, paying little heed to Madame Qiao's condition. Madame Qiao was infuriated. The news of Xiao Yunduan's promotion stirred a storm of anger within Madame Qiao. So, what had she accomplished? Qiao Xian's former fiancé had passed the examination, while her true husband had ascended to the position of intermediate Primus. What had Madame Qiao achieved by attempting to ruin Qiao Xian's marriage? That despicable concubine Xing even had the audacity to praise Qiao Xian as a fortunate woman, and the old master seemed to agree. Madame Qiao loathed her even more, and her health, which had been improving, took a turn for the worse. Qiao Wei's anger only fueled Madame Qiao's growing irritation, leaving her with a profound ache in her heart. Auntie Ling offered comforting words to Madame Qiao. So what if Xiao Yunduan is the Primus and second Miss is the wife of the Primus? They will still have to show you respect. I hold filial piety in high regard, so let's see if they dare to be unfilial. If Madame declares them as such, second son-in-law will lose his position. I doubt they would dare to defy that. Madame, you must take good care of yourself. As long as you're present, they won't be able to cause any trouble. Madame Qiao felt slightly reassured. That's right. Xiao Yunduan had obtained an official position, and he couldn't afford to disregard filial piety, or else he would risk losing his position. Qiao Xian would be taught a lesson if she dared to challenge Madame Qiao. Surprisingly, Madame Qiao let out a sigh of relief and resolved to regain her health. She wanted to live a long life and make trouble for Qiao Xian and Xiao Yunduan. However, before she could act, concubine Xing and Officer Qiao caused her further trouble. Officer Qiao suggested leaving Madame Qiao and Qiao Wei behind to recuperate while they returned to the capital first. Madame Qiao grew annoyed once again. Of course, she refused and insisted on accompanying them. On that day, she coincidentally encountered Xiao Yunduan and Qiao Xian, who were returning to pay respects to their ancestors. However, they were unaware of Madame Qiao's presence. The following day, before dawn, Qiao Xian, Xiao Yunduan, and the others set off. Their journey went smoothly, and they arrived at the province before sunset. The establishment of the new Primus ceremonial entourage naturally drew attention in the province. The magistrate's office promptly responded and warmly welcomed the group, inviting them to rest at the courier station. While Xiao Yunduan entrusted Songshe with delivering greetings to the Xia family, he himself went to meet the magistrate. He displayed politeness and good manners, greatly pleasing the magistrate. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know to report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Qiao Xian blushed and modestly replied, I don't consider myself that lucky, especially since I am only an intermediate. First Madam sternly interrupted, how dangerous could it have been? Thankfully, Primus Xiao has a conscience. Otherwise, if he had allied with the Qiao and Tian families in the capital, you would have been left vulnerable and defenseless. That would have been exceedingly perilous. Qiao Xian was startled, realizing the gravity of the situation. Initially, she hadn't given it much thought, but now, she couldn't help but break into a cold sweat. Forced to smile, she said, it appears I am indeed fortunate. I didn't misjudge my husband. First Madam smiled and affirmed, absolutely. I dare say there are very few men like Primus Xiao in the entire country. That's why I say you're lucky. However, the two of you don't have a solid foundation. Your father and mother have already entered the capital. When you return, trouble is bound to arise. Additionally, the Tian family may not be willing to let the matter rest. You must make plans in advance and remain vigilant. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know to report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 10:17, Shame. Our family may not have a business in the capital, but we do have good friends there. I will send you a letter later with their information. If you encounter any difficulties, you can seek their help. Do you need more money? When you return, I will give you tens of thousands of taels extra. It will come in handy when you reach the capital, and if you face any financial constraints, you can turn to my friend for assistance. Qiao Xian was deeply moved and replied with a smile, Auntie, we have sufficient funds, but if we ever fall short, we will not hesitate to ask for your support. First Madam smiled warmly and said, that's wonderful. There's no need to be formal with me. Just come to me whenever you need help. I don't believe the Tian family will dare to cause trouble for you in the near future. However, we cannot guarantee that they won't secretly instigate your parents to cause trouble. Primus Xiao's reputation is crucial. If by any chance things take a turn for the worse, remember to plan carefully and avoid impulsive actions. If the Tian family discovers any leverage against you, they will undoubtedly exploit it to cause trouble. Primus Xiao's career might be affected, since the Emperor holds Primus Xiao in high regard and you have made significant contributions, you should not have to rely on anyone. It's important to maintain your integrity. If you find yourself backed into a corner, you must be reasonable. And if there's no other choice, you can seek assistance from the Crown Prince. In short, we must be cautious and tactful. We need to have clever strategies and adaptability. Money should not be a major concern. First Madam was deeply concerned for Qiao Xian and kept reiterating her advice. Qiao Xian nodded earnestly, taking it all to heart. In hindsight, she felt a sense of shame. After smoothly winning 2 rounds, she had become somewhat arrogant, thinking that it was all manageable. Little did they know how wrong they were. So what if the Tian family lost? They would find a way out, or someone would create one for them. But for Qiao Xian and Xiao Yunduan, it was a different story altogether. They knew they wouldn't have another opportunity. If they failed, their reputation would be ruined, and their lives could even be at stake. Therefore, they had to remain on high alert and couldn't afford to be careless. It was already late at night when Qiao Xian finally left First Madame's residence and returned to the station. She promised to come back and stay for a few more days once they returned to the capital. The following day, Xiao Yunduan set off for home, so he didn't drink much during the evening gathering. He arrived back after Qiao Xian had returned home. They chatted for a while, and as they were about to go to bed, Xiao Yunduan suddenly smiled at Qiao Xian. "Wife, in 4 days, it will be an auspicious day." Yawning, Qiao Xian opened her eyes in confusion. "What? Are you planning to host a feast for the villagers on that day?" "Sure, we can do that." Xiao Yunduan chuckled and shook his head. "No, my dear. It's an auspicious day for a wedding, my wife." Qiao Xian was taken aback, and her face instantly flushed. She instinctively touched her face and turned inward without saying a word. Xiao Yunduan didn't know whether to laugh or cry. He couldn't help but hold her shoulders and give her a gentle squeeze. "Darling, did you hear me?" Qiao Xian couldn't help but smile, her lips curling up involuntarily. She replied softly, "Yes, good." Xiao Yunduan chuckled and released her, taking a step back with a silent smile. He couldn't wait any longer. Since they were leaving the next day, they needed to meet Yuezhing Xiao and Xie Jingrong and return home first. During this time, the days felt long, and the nights were short. The group didn't stay in the county city and instead headed back to Shouting Village. They had already sent people back to the village to tell the news. When they arrived, they saw that the entrance of the village was filled with villagers welcoming them. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know to report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 10:18, Greeting Mr. Primus. Qiao Xian and Xiao Yunduan were taken aback by the overwhelming enthusiasm of the villagers. They had expected a warm welcome from their family, but they were surprised to see the entire village mobilized in such a grand manner. While they were not individuals driven by fame or fortune, the sight before them ignited a spark of excitement in their hearts. They exchanged glances, their smiles reflecting the joy they felt. Qiao Xian playfully teased Xiao Yunduan, "Look at you, Mr. Primus, commanding such admiration. No wonder scholars aspire for glory. Such acclaim is truly something to behold." Xiao Yunduan smiled in response, his eyes filled with pride. "It is your deserved honor as well." Qiao Xian's heart fluttered at his words, their love and support for each other shining through their smiles. The villagers, brimming with excitement, eagerly called out as they spotted Qiao Xian and Xiao Yunduan approaching. "Here they come. Mr. Primus has returned. Our esteemed Mr. Primus has graced us with his presence. Let us welcome our esteemed Mr. Primus. We must ensure that Mr. Primus receives a grand reception." The villagers couldn't contain their joy, their faces lighting up with anticipation. They gathered around Ms. Fang, eldest uncle, the land officer, and a few revered elders of the village. Approaching the group, they bowed respectfully, their voices filled with reverence. "Greetings, Mr. Primus. We bow and pay our respects. We humbly greet Mr. Primus." The sudden turn of events caught Ms. Fang, eldest uncle, and the others off guard. Their expressions showed a mix of surprise and anxiety, unsure of how to respond to such an exuberant display. Young Xiaoni was stunned and subconsciously knelt down. Xiao Sanlang. Witnessing this, Miss Su hesitated for a moment before deciding to join them in kneeling. Xiao Yunduan and Qiao Xian were dumbfounded by the sight before them. "No!" they exclaimed simultaneously, quickly stepping out of the carriage and rushing forward. Xiao Yunduan assisted the land officer to rise, while Qiao Xian helped the female elders to their feet. Calling out, "Dad, Mom," she addressed Miss Su and young Xiaoni, caught between laughter and tears. "Sister-in-law, third sister-in-law, please stand up. This is unnecessary." Upon seeing her two daughters-in-law kneeling, Miss Fang grew infuriated. "What are you doing? Eldest son, third son, have you lost your minds as well?" Xiao Dalong and Xiao Sanlang swiftly helped their wives to their feet. Young Xiaoni chuckled in embarrassment. "Oh, my legs simply gave out. I saw everyone else kneeling, so I followed suit." Laughter filled the air as the tension dissipated. The family elders shared in the mirth, wiping away their tears. They then proceeded back to the village with Xiao Yunduan, while Qiao Xian accompanied the esteemed female family elder and Miss Fang. The villagers gathered around, joining the celebratory procession as they returned to the village. The gates of the ancestral hall swung open, and Xiao Yunduan, accompanied by the land officer, entered to pay their respects, offering kowtows and incense as a means of conveying the auspicious news to their ancestors. Afterward, they made their way back home. Due to the suddenness of the news, preparations had been made hastily. Fortunately, the spacious first section of the Xiao family could accommodate the influx of guests, and every room was filled with joy and celebration. Qiao Xian and Miss Fang instructed the servants to prepare tea for the elders and arranged for the ceremonial team to temporarily settle in Xiao Zioki's yard, ensuring they had provisions and seating arrangements. Meanwhile, Xiao Yunduan swiftly took charge of the cooking duties. With an array of meats available, he quickly set up 2 tables. However, the kitchen alone was insufficient, so he sought assistance from their generous neighbors. Just as Qiao Xian was about to join in the cooking process, Miss Fang and Miss Su intervened. "No, you don't need to do this. Fifth sister-in-law, please return to your room and rest. Third sister-in-law and I will handle it." Qiao Xian was taken aback, only comprehending the situation after a moment. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know to report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1019, Still a Family. Miss Fang said with a smile, "You are the wife of the Primus and the official's wife now, so you are not allowed to do such menial work. You are making them lose their lifespan. Go and rest." Qiao Xian. However, she couldn't help but find it amusing. Bursting into laughter, she replied, "Don't worry, Mom, I will cook 2 dishes for my husband and 2 dishes for my parents. Besides, I need to eat too." "What?" Miss Fang was delighted to hear Qiao Xian's response. She thought her daughter-in-law was sensible and filial, and with her by her son's side, she had nothing to worry about. "It's rare for you to be so filial, but you don't have to go through the trouble today. Rest for a bit. You can be filial to your parents any other day. They won't miss a meal with Yun Duan around." Feeling touched, Qiao Xian smiled and said, "Mom, since you care about me, I will listen to you." All right. Now, go and rest. Your sister-in-law and third sister-in-law's culinary skills may not be as good as yours, but they've improved. I'll have them send you some food later. I'll ask Li Xia and Li Qiao to help. They can send it over later." Qiao Xian smiled at Miss Su and Yang Xiaoni and said, "Sister-in-law, third sister-in-law, we're family, so please don't treat me like an outsider. Let's maintain our close bond, just like before." Observing Miss Su and Yang Xiaoni's respectful but somewhat helpless expressions, and hearing Ms. Su's hesitant "you," Qiao Xian felt a bit uneasy. She didn't want there to be any distance between them. Since arriving in this world, she had acquired superpowers, wealth, a husband, and her relationship with her in-laws was also good. All she wanted was for everyone to remain close and continue living happily. That, to her, would be the ultimate perfection and happiness. She was not that petty. They were not arrogant just because they had obtained the power. Miss Su and Yang Xiaoni were startled. Yang Xiaoni smiled embarrassedly. Can this work? Fifth sister-in-law, you're now the wife of the Primus and the wife of an official. Qiao Xian burst into laughter. Am I still the fifth sister-in-law? Yang Xiaoni nodded dumbly. Qiao Xian tried not to laugh. Well, as long as I am still your fifth sister-in-law, we will be the same as before. This really works. Sure. Alright, let's listen to fifth sister-in-law. Yang Xiaoni chuckled and looked much more relaxed. Miss Su nodded with a smile, looking relaxed. Qiao Xian was still resting in her own yard when Miss Su, Yang Xiaoni, Tao Tao, Li Xia, Li Qiao, Miss Yan and a few other women helped her to make a meal. Xiao Yunduan and eldest uncle were eating with the land officer and the elders, and 3 tables were set up at the ceremonial team. Xiao Daolong and Xiao Sanlang greeted them. Chapter 1020, Home Party. After the long-awaited banquet finally came to an end, the Xiao family let out a collective sigh of relief. Everyone was overjoyed, yet completely exhausted. It had been a challenging journey, but they could finally bask in peace and tranquility, allowing themselves to rest properly. The banquet had attracted not only the villagers but also numerous relatives, friends, local dignitaries, former classmates, and others who came to extend their congratulations. Even the newly appointed county magistrate Yu made a special appearance, accompanied by his grandmaster, to personally convey his good wishes. Impressed by the occasion, Xiao Yunduan requested the county magistrate to escort them to the county, generously offering him a gift of 300 liang. The Xiao family's humble abode was not spacious enough to accommodate such a large gathering, and Xiao Yunduan and Qiao Xian preferred to spend the next few days in the company of their family, rather than amidst the crowd. Furthermore, there was little to do in the village, leaving them with a sense of boredom. The sum of 300 liang would sustain them comfortably in the county office for well over a month. Grateful for the newfound serenity, Miss Fang urged Qiao Xian to organize and arrange all the presents that had been bestowed upon them during the event. Although these gifts were meant for Xiao Yunduan, Miss Fang refrained from interfering, allowing Qiao Xian to make the decisions herself. Miss Fang's selflessness was evident, as she had no intention of claiming anything for herself. These were rewards earned by her son, and as his mother, she wholeheartedly supported his rightful ownership. Qiao Xian acknowledged her mother-in-law's sincerity and felt a deep conviction in her trustworthiness. In any other scenario, someone might have seized the opportunity for personal gain. However, Miss Fang's integrity and maternal love made it impossible to resist her intentions. Qiao Xian smiled in response and, with the assistance of Tao Tao, Li Qiao, and Li Xia, dedicated an entire day to sorting through the gifts and meticulously recording each one. Then, Qiao Xian invited Miss Fang to take a look at the gifts. The total sum amounted to an impressive 8,688 liang, consisting of 8 screens, each with its unique characteristics. One was made of exquisite rosewood, another intricately carved with crystal, and the third adorned with embroidered 6 jade halls. Among the presents were also 80 pieces of silk and satin, each distinct in its design and texture. Additionally, there were porcelain items, jade artifacts, purple copper, wood carvings, and an array of various decorations. Not to forget, there were calligraphy and paintings as well. Perplexed, Miss Fang smiled and remarked, "As farmers, we have no need for these items." When she finally woke up, it was already afternoon. Sunlight filtered through the window veils, casting diagonal beams on the light green tiles. The rustling of leaves could be faintly heard as the wind brushed past. Blushing, Qiao Xian averted her gaze upon seeing Xiao Yunduan's smiling eyes. Savoring the moment, Xiao Yunduan tightened his embrace and brushed his lips against her face. "Are you awake?" Today, it didn't matter if she slept in. Qiao Xian had no fear of gossip. Instead, she felt a heightened sense of embarrassment in Xiao Yunduan's presence. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know to report so we can fix it as soon as possible. You're tuning in to the Path of the True Immortal YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.